Christmas starts here at H&L Rapid True Value. Get Christmas ready by shopping the latest in our catalog. The time brought to you by H&L Rapid True Value is...
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide news at this hour, the Jamaican economy contracted by nearly 3% for the July to September quarter, largely due to the impact of Hurricane Beryl.
The estimated outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the adverse impact of Hurricane Beryl and other hydrological events.
The EPOC chairman urges the Prime Minister to make good on his promise to cut bureaucratic red tape as part of his new inclusive growth initiative.
But the PNP's Julian Robinson says the initiative dubbed Aspire Jamaica is an election ploy.
Having been at the wicket for close to 9 years, 2 months shy of 9 years, it's really not credible for the Prime Minister to come now and talk about inclusive growth.
EOJ awaiting details from its legal team on how to treat with Rowan Banks' withdrawal from the by-election in Northwest St. Andrew.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says almost all market fires are caused by illegal electricity connections.
In news from the rest of the world, Prime Minister Modi meets with Caribbean leaders in Guyana with security in mind.
U.S. vetoes a Gaza ceasefire resolution.
And in headline sports, Excelsior beat Eltham on penalties to book first semi-final spot in the 2024 Walker Cup knockout.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, during the launch of a policy roadmap to sustain economic growth being dubbed Aspire Jamaica, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the initiative will focus on access to economic opportunities, economic diversification, reforming bureaucracy, among others. We'll get reactions from President of the MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton, and President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, voter apathy, what defers you from voting? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90FM, Nationwide Radio JM.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, November 20, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Jamaican economy is estimated to have contracted by nearly 3% for the July to September period, with mixed prospects for the remainder of the year. That's according to the latest information provided by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, at their quarterly media briefing on Wednesday. The downturn largely reflected the impact of Hurricane Beryl, with further weather phenomena and a poor performances in key industries, making this one the toughest economic years faced by the country since COVID-19. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
After nearly 13 quarters of unbroken economic gains, the damage caused by the passage of Hurricane Beryl in July has now been quantified. According to PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry, the Category 4 storm cost the country 3% of GDP, or over $30 billion for the quarter.
We are reporting an estimated contraction of 2.8% in real value added during the July to September 2024 quarter relative to the corresponding quarter of 2023. The estimated outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the adverse impact of Hurricane Beryl and other hydrological events. The downturn is due to an estimated contraction in both the goods producing and the services industries.
Agriculture was the hardest hit, falling by more than 13%. 13 of the 14 parishes showed a decline in hectares reaped. Another major growth industry, mining and quarrying, also declined over the period by upwards of 15%. Overall, the goods-producing industries declined by more than 6%, with all sectors contracting. The services industries were not spared the downturn, with all but one declining for the period. Overall, the services fell by 1.2%. However, even prior to the passage of Hurricane Beryl, the economy showed signs of slowing, recording a contraction of 0.6% from January to September. According to Dr. Henry, the short-term prospects for the country are also poor.
Looking at the short-term economic outlook, October to December 2024, calendar year 2024, and fiscal year 2024-25. Generally, the prospects for Jamaica are negative, due largely to the lingering effects of Hurricane Beryl on the economy, compounded by several other hydrological events. The passage of Hurricane Beryl and the associated damage and loss disrupted economic activity and adversely affected macroeconomic performance. The cost of damage and loss associated with the passage of Hurricane Beryl was estimated at $32.2 billion, or 1.1% of 2023 GDP for Jamaica.
Meanwhile, there's an expectation of many industries to recover over the next few quarters. Key areas are still anticipated to lag behind, including tourism. This means the economy will contract for the fiscal and calendar years.
Looking ahead, all industries, with the exception of agriculture, construction, hotels and restaurants, and other services, are expected to record growth in the short term. For the hotels and restaurants and other services industries, the continued impact of the travel advisories, as well as industrial disputes which impacted operations at some hotels, are expected to temper the performance. Within this context, the economy is anticipated to contract for the remainder of this calendar and fiscal year. For October to December 2024, it is projected that the change in real value added will be within the range of negative 1.5% to 0, resulting in calendar year outturn, that is January to December 2024, within the range of negative 1% to 0.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Finance Minister Fayval Williams says it's not anticipated that the raft of new growth-inducing measures will push the national budget off track. The minister spoke with Nationwide News following the launch of the government's new growth agenda, Build, Aspire Jamaica. Prime Minister Andrew Holness unveiled the raft of policy measures at Jamaica House on Tuesday. The policy prioritizes productivity, skilled labor that is aligned with market needs and inclusivity. Minister Williams says the bulk of the initiatives are aimed at improving efficiency and will not result in increased spending. In fact, she says several of the measures will increase government revenue. For those that will require budgetary support, Minister Williams says the steps will be taken in incremental stages to ensure balance and sustainability over the long term.
Meanwhile, opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson says Prime Minister Andrew Holness's new inclusive growth initiative is an election ploy which brings nothing new to the table. Speaking with Nationwide News on Wednesday, Mr. Robinson dismissed the proposals as rehashed promises.
Prime Minister really didn't announce anything new. He rehashed a number of previous announcements, commitments that were made in the past but not implemented. So, and from our perspective, having been at the wicket for close to 9 years, 2 months shy of 9 years, it's really not credible for the Prime Minister to come now and talk about inclusive growth when you have had an opportunity over the 9-year period to do a number of the things which he spoke about yesterday. What he needs to tell us is why weren't those things done, or if they were tried, to what extent were they successful, and what were the issues or the obstacles. But, on the eve of an election, 9 months before an election, this seems to be a strategy to reach out to people who are not feeling the prosperity, who are struggling with high cost of living, who believe the country is going in the right direction, to buy more time and to seek another term in office.
As part of this new thrust, several reforms such as the consolidation of various payroll taxes and raising the GCT threshold for small businesses are being given active consideration. He says these could be in place for the next fiscal year. The opposition spokesman is questioning the timing of Prime Minister's announcement.
I mean, it's also a little strange. It's a couple of days before his annual conference where I would expect him to make a major presentation there as well. But why no? I mean, you've had 9 years to address these issues. And while nobody can challenge the macroeconomic data, the reality is that it hasn't translated into people feeling better about their own personal economic situation and that of their family. So to me, it just seems to be at this late stage on the eve of a general election, really asking for time to get these things done.
Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman on finance and the public service.
And chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Keith Duncan, is urging Prime Minister Holness to make good on his promise to cut out bureaucratic red tape as part of his new inclusive growth push. Speaking with Nationwide News on Wednesday, Mr. Duncan described the Aspire Jamaica initiative as pivotal if delivered.
The Prime Minister indicated a pivotal policy shift from macroeconomic stability to a deliberate and focused strategy around inclusive growth underpinned by fiscal prudence. He provided a comprehensive overview of a growth strategy. However, what stood out for me was a focus around reducing red tape and bureaucratic hurdles that exist in government. Jamaicans from all walks of life have a high degree of frustration around getting things done in Jamaica. That is through the state bureaucracy. It is an important shift in mindset that is required to make it easier to do business in Jamaica.
Mr. Duncan says if accomplished, this could aid in attracting much-needed investment to the island. He also praised as a potential game-changer the consolidation of all payroll taxes to simply business processing.
The reduction of inefficiencies and unnecessary bureaucracy and reducing the time for all manner of approvals, including developments, will increase the velocity of investments and definitely reduce frustration and increase growth levels in the Jamaican economy. The move to a consolidated single payroll tax, as announced by the PM to be completed by Minister Favour Williams, would send a powerful signal that the PM and the government of Jamaica is serious about the ease of doing business.
Keith Duncan, chairman of EPOC.
Director of Elections Glaspole Brown says he's awaiting details from the legal team on how to treat the ballots for Friday's by-election in Northwest St. Andrew following the withdrawal of independent candidate Rowan Banks. Mr. Brown says Mr. Banks' name has already been printed on the ballots.
He's still on the ballot. The ballot was printed already. I've asked my legal people to provide some sort of guidance. I'm waiting on them to provide me that guidance. I don't want to comment on it yet until I get that legal guidance.
Mr. Banks announced his withdrawal from the contest on Tuesday. He was one of 3 candidates nominated on November 6, looking to fill the vacancy created by the departure of former Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark. The other 2 are the JLP's Dwayne Smith and another independent candidate, Carl Marshall. Mr. Brown says, to the best of his knowledge, Mr. Banks did not follow the correct process to properly withdraw from the race.
Normally, you're supposed to give us 7 days notice that you're withdrawing your nomination. I understand he left a piece of paper at the constituency office, not addressed to anybody as such, but just to say that he has withdrawn his nomination and signed it. I don't know if that's not the way you go about withdrawing your nomination.
Glaspole Brown, Director of Elections, he was speaking with Nationwide News on Wednesday.
A dispute between 2 students on Tuesday in downtown Kingston resulted in the stabbing death of a 12-year-old boy. Dead is Omar Colley, a grade 7 student from Denhamtown High School. The incident reportedly happened in the vicinity of West Queen Street and the West Street intersection. Head of the Kingston Western Police Division, Senior Superintendent Michael Phipps, says Colley was fatally injured while on his way home from school.
The information that we have just now is suggesting that both persons were involved in a dispute. We're not quite clear at this time what may have led to that dispute, but it is alleged that the female used a comb, which she was using in her hair, and actually inflicted a stab wound to the chest of the 12-year-old child. He was taken to the KPH where he was being treated and succumbed to his injuries. We have since taken the female involved in custody, and she is housed at a juvenile remand center.
SSP Phipps says the violence affecting society is being played out in the schools. He's urging parents to assist in steering their children away from violent behaviors.
We have had some programs where we are trying to do mentorship of most of our youngsters, trying to, let them resolve their differences without resorting to violence. So we are trying our best to ensure that we keep the kids away from the violent activities that they tend to display at times. We rely on the parents a lot because we know that very good parenting makes better children. And we are imploring on them not just to leave the children to do as they feel, but to ensure that they do the correct things at all times.
SSP Michael Phipps, head of the Kingston West Police.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
5:16.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Continuing the news, local government minister Desmond McKenzie says almost all market fires are caused by illegal electricity connections. Minister McKenzie was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Wednesday. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
The latest market fire was reported at the Pernell Charles Arcade in downtown Kingston on Monday. Around 95 shops were destroyed in the blaze, in which vendors lost millions of dollars worth of goods. Market fires are a recurrent problem. Minister Desmond McKenzie says most of them are caused by illegal electricity connections. He told Cliff Hughes that due to the frequency of these fires, municipal corporations need to remove all illegal connections.
9 out of every 10 fires in our markets can be attributed to short circuit, where vendors attach to the GPS system, and because of that you have constant short out of that. And
Attach illegally?
Yeah, illegally. And that is why I spoke in the way that I do about the fact that the MCs must now move along with the GPS to disconnect these illegal connections, because this can be attributed to most of the fires that have taken place. It's very few of the fires that you have had in our markets that have been caused because of someone threw a match or something in the bush. It is because of illegal connection.
Minister McKenzie says the funds required to repair the recently raised markets has surpassed $400 million.
We are paying a price for it because the bill to carry out repairs to the markets is extensive. The last check I checked, we are looking to find an additional $484 million to rebuild markets that have been destroyed. We have the Highgate market, which is going to cost us over $170 million, and we have the one in Port Antonio that is estimated to cost, I think, somewhere in the region of $200 and something million. And there are other markets, the Lucy market, we have sections of the Carnation markets and the other markets.
That figure does not include the cost to repair the Pernell Charles Arcade. The local government minister adds, mayors across the country are engaging with vendors to ensure they play their part in protecting their livelihoods.
One of the good things about it, though, is that almost all the markets are insured. So there are returns from it, but I don't think the returns that you will get is adequate enough to do the necessary repairs. And that is why the various mayors, and including the Mayor of Kingston and the other municipalities, have begun engaging the vendors, because something has to be done. And if the vendors are not prepared to cooperate, then you have to do what is necessary for them to not just to save the markets, but to save their personal investment, because it is their investment that is going up in smoke.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The world in a minute. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Guyana for the CARICOM India Summit. This marks the first visit by an Indian leader to the South American country with diaspora ties in more than 50 years. The Prime Minister arrived with promises to help the region in areas including health, energy, and agriculture. But Modi is also thinking about India. Noting Guyana's growing importance as an oil-producing nation after vast quantities of oil and gas were discovered off its coast in 2015, he said Guyana will play an important role in India's energy security. Speaking after meeting with Guyanese President Dr. Irfan Ali, Prime Minister Modi promised to help Guyana and the region improve agriculture production. According to him, food security is important to island nations.
The United States has vetoed a UN resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. According to the Associated Press, the U.S. says it vetoed Wednesday's resolution because it was not linked to an immediate release of hostages taken captive by Hamas in Israel in October 2023. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah was showing signs of progress. However, Israel's defense minister says his country wants the right to act militarily against Hezbollah in any agreement to end the fighting.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. The Jamaican economy contracted by nearly 3% for the July to September quarter, largely due to the impact of Hurricane Beryl.
EPOC chairman urges Prime Minister to make good on his promise to cut bureaucratic red tape as part of his new inclusive growth initiative.
But the PNP's Julian Robinson says the initiative, dubbed Aspire Jamaica, is an election ploy.
EOJ awaiting details from its legal team on how to treat with Rowan Banks' withdrawal from the by-election in Northwest St. Andrew.
I'm Roby-Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next. The headlines at 6.
Are you ready for real rewards this Christmas? Reel in big cash prizes and big appliances with Rainforest Real Rewards on now at supermarkets island-wide. Enter to win cash prize of $500,000 or a stove or fridge. Any 2 Rainforest products, including shrimp, and enter online or WhatsApp between November 1 and December 15. Each receipt is an entry. Enter as many times as you want. This Christmas, win real rewards. Only with Rainforest. Authorized by the PGLC. Terms and conditions apply.
Get ready for the lowest prices of the year at the Active Home Center Black Friday sale in Kingston and Montego Bay. Save big on tiles, bathroom fixtures, furniture, lighting, and more just in time for the holidays. Join us now until Saturday, November 30 for unbeatable deals you won't want to miss. Visit our newly relaunched Montego Bay location at Barnett Tech Park at the intersection of Fairfield and Barnett Street, or our upgraded Kingston showroom at 84 Constant Spring Road. Conditions apply. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
It's time! Shocks Depot is having a pre-Christmas clearance sale with massive discounts on all shocks and struts for all vehicles. Installation and wheel alignment available, plus warranty on all shocks and struts. Contact or visit Shocks Depot at 79 Hagley Park Road. Telephone 876-649-0238 and call or WhatsApp 876-509-0076. Shocks Depot. Our products are durable, comfortable, and affordable.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. There are no more unbeaten teams left in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League. Defending champions Cavaliers suffered their first defeat of the season. They went down 1-0 to Racing United in a rescheduled round of 5 game this afternoon. Andre Campbell scored 2 minutes into the game for Racing's third victory of the campaign, moving them to 8th in the standings, while Cavalier remains 6th. The league will continue on Sunday. Former champions Excelsior High School booked their first semi-final ticket in a major schoolboy football competition this season. The Mountain View Avenue-based school defeated another former winner of the title, that's Eltham High School, 7-6 on penalties in the first quarter-final at Stadium East today. The second quarter-final is underway, and outgoing Manning Cup champions Mona High are already leading St. Jago by 2-0 also at Stadium East. The other 2 quarterfinals will be contested on Thursday at the same venue, with Campion College meeting Stats and Tivoli taking on Wolmer's. Defending world champions Argentina extended their lead in the South American World Cup qualifiers to 5 points after beating Peru 1-0 in Buenos Aires thanks to a 55th minute goal from the Inter Milan striker Lautaro Martinez. It was Lautaro's 37th international goal, and it pulled him level with the Argentine legend, the late Diego Armando Maradona. 5-time champions Brazil and Uruguay played out a 1-1 draw in Salvador. Real Madrid's Federico Valverde gave Uruguay the lead on 55 minutes, but that was cancelled out 7 minutes later by Gerson with his first international goal. Brazil remained 5th in the standings. Uruguay remains 2nd. In other games, captain Enner Valencia scored in the 7th minute as Ecuador defeated Colombia 1-0 away. Chile defeated Venezuela 4-2, while Bolivia and Paraguay played out a 2-2 draw. Defending champions, the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force reached 75 for 1 after 11 overs and 4 balls at sports time. They're chasing 340 to beat the Barbados Pride in the first semi-final of the CG United Regional Super 50 tournament at the Brian Lara Stadium in Tarouba. The Pride, who were sent into bat, piled up 339 for 7 in their 50 overs. The foundation was laid on the back of a stunning century opening stand of 140 from Zachary McCaskey, who blasted 94, and Lenika Boucher 69. Other useful scores came from Raymond Reed for 65 and Ruston Chase 43 against Mark Dial 4 for 53. The second semi-final will be played at the same venue, featuring the Jamaica Scorpions and the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, and that's tomorrow. Rafa Nadal's illustrious career came to an end as Spain lost to the Netherlands in the Davis Cup on an emotional night in Malaga. Spanish Grey Nadal, who has won 22 Grand Slam titles, recently announced the men's team event would be the last of his 20-year career. In front of a packed, partisan crowd, the 38-year-old lost 6-4, 6-4 to Botic van de Zandschop at the Netherlands, took an early lead in the best-of-3 quarter-final tie. Carlos Alcaraz was taking over the mantle of Spain's leading player, beat Talon Grishpor 7-6, 6-3 in the second singles match to keep Nadal's hopes of another potential farewell appearance alive. But Alcaraz and Marcel Granoller were beaten 7-6, 7-3 by Van de Zandschop and Wesley Houlfort in the deciding doubles. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with much more at 6:05.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:29.
I don't have no time for whole heap of paperwork. That's why I downloaded and signed up for my One Jane Passport app. Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The temperature by the One Jane Passport app is
30 degrees Celsius right here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 28 out west in Montego Bay.
So where you get?
The new Popeyes blackened chicken sandwich, my girl. The flavor just hits different.
Blackened like it burn up?
Nah, man. Blackened because of the color of the Louisiana herbs and spices. Blackened like the flavor buck. No breading and the seasoning soaked deep in the chicken. But get yours and try it, cause me nah share yours. Get the new Popeyes blackened chicken sandwich. Limited time only.
Love that chicken from Popeyes. Jamaica, your government has delivered. 100 brand new CNG buses are now rolling out across the island. Enjoy lower bus fares, short wait times, and air-conditioned comfort on every ride. Enjoy a smoother commute and more savings every day. It's all part of our commitment to lower the cost of living and improve your daily commute.
Brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
It's the West Kingston Constituency Conference at Tivoli Gardens High. Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, November 21 for this broadcast. See you at Tivoli Gardens and hear from party leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Winston Ennis, Fayval Williams, Everald Warmington, Matthew Samuda, and others. Plus, stay tuned to hear from Desmond McKenzie. So don't miss Nationwide at 5 on Thursday, November 21 from 6 to 9 p.m. It's the West Kingston Constituency Conference. Catch Nationwide at 5 or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the West Kingston Constituency Office.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss.
Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Boyatings After Dark.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. It is Wednesday, the 20th of November, and it's time for the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell. And I understand that my co-host, who would be here normally, is currently stuck in traffic, and he has a little report for us. How are you doing out there, Ricardo?
Good evening. Good afternoon, Siobhan. Good afternoon to the listeners. I've just had what is easily the worst traffic experience of my life. And I'd say to the listeners, if you have to traverse anywhere near to Halfway Tree, New Kingston, Huey, Papine, it's going to be a terrible, terrible situation. I'm not quite sure what's happening, but a trip that would normally take me 25 to 30 minutes just took 1 hour and 30 minutes. The driver is saying that there might be some issue where a pole is down. I'm not quite sure, but it's nasty traffic. I don't know if we've been able to get an update from P-Step, but it's a really difficult situation.
Understood, Ricardo. Well, we hope you will join us in about a few minutes or so.
Yeah, made worse by some of these roads having potholes causing people to slow down, which is just, it's a bad situation.
Okay, I understand we just got a report from P-Step head Gary McKenzie that they're doing some patching and rehabilitation along the road, so I guess that has really narrowed the ability for traffic to pass along that thoroughfare. So, Ricardo, all the best. We hope to see you shortly. We'll press on, and I will see you later. Okay, listeners and viewers, that is Ricardo Brooks. As you heard, he's stuck in traffic, some difficulty traversing the KMTR due to some patching ongoing on some of the thoroughfares. So if you're out and about, try to avoid those congested areas. But in the meantime, we press on with the Prime Minister, who delivered a policy statement on economic growth at Jamaica House yesterday. The new growth initiative is being dubbed Aspire Jamaica. Aspire Jamaica will focus on access to economic opportunities, safety and security, people and human development. It will also focus on infrastructure development, reforming bureaucracy, and economic diversification. Prime Minister Holness is signaling this thrust as a new chapter in the country's journey for greater development.
The tagline we are using for this next chapter is Aspire Jamaica. Access to economic opportunity for all, inclusive. S, safety and security. P, people and our focus on human capital development. I, infrastructure development. R, reform of the bureaucracy to improve ease, speed and cost of doing business. And E, economic diversification and the development of new industry. Let us aspire Jamaica.
As part of this new thrust, Mr. Holness says key initiatives are under consideration to include several tax reforms, such as the consolidation of various payroll taxes. He says this could be in place for the next fiscal year. Mr. Holness also announced the consideration of further tax incentives for small businesses and the services industries.
We are exploring an increase in the threshold at which small businesses need to register and account for GCT. In 2019, the administration increased the threshold from 3 million to 10 million, and we are looking to further increase the threshold to remove the burden from small businesses. We're also considering accelerated capital allowances to encourage businesses to modernize and retool their facilities, as well as for investments in technology. Examining the removal of taxes on tips. This initiative is aimed at rewarding productivity and excellent service, particularly in sectors like hospitality, where service excellence plays a critical role in our success as a global destination. It would not be limited to hospitality, but extended to all service industries.
That's Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He was laying out a policy roadmap for the country to achieve sustained economic growth on Tuesday. Well, joining us to discuss further is the President of the MSME Alliance, that's Antoinette Hamilton, and President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, JEF, Wayne Chen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
It is good to hear from you both. Let me give you the first crack at it. Antoinette Hamilton, your reaction to the news there coming from the Prime Minister yesterday about his inclusive growth thrust.
Okay, so our reaction is good. The Prime Minister spoke to the need for significant acceleration in growth, which suggests that the Prime Minister understands the current state of the economy and the role that the MSME sector plays in that. The Prime Minister points to some of the key concerns of the sector, and some of them would have been mentioned in your clip before. The bureaucracy in government. Prime Minister articulated that you'll be destroying the walls of bureaucracy, and we're definitely looking forward to that, especially for agencies of government that provide funding to our sector. We're looking for easier and more accessible funding opportunities. The Prime Minister also spoke to the tax reforms, some of which will directly affect our sector, which is excellent and, a positive for us. The consolidation of various tax types is something that we would have advocated for at the last 10th anniversary of the tax admin of Jamaica. And we appreciate that the Prime Minister is moving in that direction. However, we would have hoped to hear more about possible tax reductions for the MSME sector. And something that we have been advocating for is the exemption of tax on profits for MSMEs, especially in the first 2 years of their operation, because we know the importance of that to economic growth and just increasing the opportunity for even providing jobs to persons. So we're positive, and we're happy that the Prime Minister is touching some of the pain points of our sector.
Okay. And Wayne Chen, I want to bring you in there. A lot of those initiatives will definitely affect employers, considering its attempt to, as the Prime Minister put it, simplify the tax roll by consolidating many of those payroll taxes into one lump payment.
My only surprise is that it took so long. I will take you back to 2008 when some of the payroll taxes were consolidated. And I believe in the last quarter, we overshot the budget significantly, 300 million or 400 million more in revenue than was expected, which demonstrates that the ease of accessing government services, including paying taxes, actually yields positive results. But it speaks to an endemic issue. We know this is good. We know that making government more efficient will yield great economic benefits, including GDP growth. The access, the ease of starting a small business, since I'm here with the president of the MSME Alliance. We know these things. It's not that a lack of knowledge. And it's not a lack of knowledge to know that, for example, 60% of the Jamaican workforce has no certified skills. Dr. Wayne Henry of the PIOJ over a year ago said that the lack of skills in the workforce will put a ceiling on economic growth. We know these things. The challenge that Jamaica has had for my entire lifetime, and I've lived quite a long time, is the gap between talk and implementation. It takes political will. It takes the expenditure of political capital. It takes many things, obviously, to move from talk to action. We have institutions in Jamaica that quietly have worked over the years, not least the institutions of social dialogue and partnership. Sounds fancy and theoretical, but we need to bring more people into the discourse. I'll give you one instance. The Economic Policy Oversight Committee is a social dialogue institution, it's a social partnership.
Yes.
Where capital, government, labor and civil society came together and said that the way we were running fiscal deficits and running up a massive national debt, something that our great-grandchildren will have to pay, could not go on anymore. And we all sat down at a table, and over time, we brought something, and we gave up something. And Jamaica is now the poster child for fiscal prudence. It has to be an all-in approach to some of these long and thorny issues. The fact is that Jamaica lags. I think we're right near the bottom for the hemisphere in productivity growth over the last 50 years. That speaks to the low level of skills in the workforce. inefficient processes, underdeveloped infrastructure. I mean, I heard Ricardo a while ago stuck in traffic. I'm stuck in the same traffic. 2 days ago, I got from Mandeville to Kingston in an hour and 15 minutes. Moving from the same destination from Campion College, Manor Park, that evening, took me 2 hours. That can't speak to productivity in the country. And that is just an issue of traffic. Somebody asked, what's the solution? The solution is better, cleaner, more efficient mass transit and perhaps a greater use of remote work. We learned in the pandemic that many of us can be working remotely. But have we taken the steps to ensure that there's robust infrastructure, meaning reliable telecom reliable include mobile internet, and measurement tools that people can feel comfortable that when they're not looking over their desk or looking out of their office into the wider office, that everyone is busy at work, rather than having measurement tools that actually measure output, so that many jobs don't need to be based in an office, where people can actually spend more time at home, manage their time better, having a better work-life balance, being more productive, helping their children, which perhaps would improve our educational output when families have a greater input in their children's education.
Okay.
So I say all to say that these are not things we don't know, you know.
Okay, Mr. Chen.
How we foment the will to get them done.
Hold it there for us, Wayne Chen. Good afternoon to the listeners, to Wayne Chen and to Antonin Hamilton. We have an update just before we go to the break on the traffic situation. ACP Mackenzie has told our producers that 2 light poles were down in the Red Hills Road, Eastwood Park, Constant Spring area from about 2 this afternoon. He says they're cleared now. And he also says there were officers in the area earlier this afternoon. I'd recommend to the ACP that the officers go back to those positions because it's a nasty situation out there. We're up on the break.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
13 minutes to 6.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
With Jamaica Automobile Association, membership is a win-win. Enter the JAA Fuel Up promotion and you could win the grand prize of JAA Gold membership for 1 year, plus fuel valued at $240,000. Just purchase, renew or upgrade your JAA membership or use your individual JAA advance card to buy at least $10,000 of fuel a month. So, fuel up! There's also monthly prices of $20,000 in fuel. Enter now. JAA Fuel Up promotion ends December 13, 2024. Conditions apply.
Delicious meals, poolside cocktails, right on the beach. Disconnect from the daily worries and reconnect with the one you love. There's no paradise like home. Enjoy a romantic all-inclusive escape at Couples Tower Isle in Ocho Rios from $299 per night. Take advantage of this offer today by calling Couples Resorts at 876-632-8200. Conditions apply.
It's time! Shocks Depot is having a pre-Christmas clearance sale with massive discounts on all shocks and struts for all vehicles. Installation and wheel alignment available, plus warranty on all shocks and struts. Contact or visit Shocks Depot at 79 Hagley Park Road. Telephone 876-649-0238 and call or WhatsApp 876-509-0076. Shocks Depot. Our products are durable, comfortable, and affordable.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And we're getting reactions to the Prime Minister's policy statement yesterday. We have with us the President of the MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton, and President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen. Before the break, Wayne Chen, you made a point regarding political will, that some of these changes will take political will. And I wondered if in a period where we expect a certain event to be close at hand, you realistically expect that some of what the Prime Minister spoke to yesterday will be delivered?
Some can be delivered. I think we have an opportunity to accelerate skills training within the existing workforce and to introduce elements of it within the education system. There are some structural challenges, of course, but that is one that requires a little less political capital. The fact is that change is hard, and everything we talk about here requires some structural changes that the majority of us may see as not only needed, but urgently needed. But one thing I've discovered about change, especially here in Jamaica, is that there will always be people who feel uncomfortable or dislocated by new systems. It's an apocryphal story, but the word sabotage came about when the mechanized cotton looms were invented, and the hand weavers threw their wooden sandals, sabots, into the machines to destroy them. The fact is that digital transformation, just use an example, is something that we ought to be pushing right through the country. If you go into countries that are competing with us, because it is a competitive world, and you see how many services and processes have moved into the virtual world. Anywhere you see pen and paper in Jamaica, you know that we are behind. It's a waste of human capital because humans are doing jobs that can be automated. And it's a waste of human time because processes take far longer than they ought to. Every time you go to a tax office in this country and you see people standing in line, you know that is a break on growth. It's a disincentive to formalize yourself, and it's a waste of people's time. So, cutting the bureaucracy, yes. We have talked about it a lot over many years. We have done something in the last 3 to 4 years, which is something that 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we would have thought impossible. And that is the consolidation and rationalization of public sector compensation. It's a huge feat. But the next step is let us now look at the whole state apparatus and see how we can make it more efficient and user-friendly for the people it serves, which is the people of Jamaica. On the issue of skills, we know that the education and training sector, and I'd really like to just say the education sector, has been in crisis for a long time, as exposed by the Davis report and most recently the Orlando Patterson report. But it is the will to implement, because you have vested interests that are, let's put in quotation marks, comfortable with the status quo. So it will take tremendous political capital because it will be unpopular in certain quarters in the short term. And am I optimistic that we can get a lot of reforms done before an election? No. It will take a new government, not necessarily a change of administration, but as a new government with a new political mandate to get some of the tough things done. But there are things that can be done right away. I think some of the bureaucracy, yes. Accelerating more marketable skills within the workforce, yes, but it's best and most efficiently done in partnership with employers. We know best what is needed out there. And we're not only talking about specific skills to specific sectors or industries. We're talking about attitudes. The values and attitudes that make people trainable, that make people want to learn, that make people want to lift themselves up. Because more productive workers mean more productive and sustainable enterprises. And I don't want to think that it's only about workers. We want people that can create their own economic independence. There are hundreds of millions of economic opportunities on the internet. Are we training our people to live here but work elsewhere, work in the virtual world, earn dollars, bitcoins, pounds, euros? It doesn't matter. there are people in Jamaica who are currently doing it. Are we expanding those examples to teach our young people that you don't have to put on a jacket and tie and go to an office? You can work at 3 in the morning and work in the virtual world and earn. There are Jamaicans doing it right now. How are we multiplying those examples and training our people, not just young and old, in the skills to access the possibilities of the entire world, not just the island of Jamaica? So it's about, yes, and this is where I might have a slight disagreement with the Prime Minister. It's not just talking about what is needed by industry. It is talking about what is needed by the world. So we can accelerate that one very quickly, but it can't be done by HEART alone. It can't be done by the Ministry of Education alone. It requires a partnership with other people out there who are creating jobs, who are employing people, and so on, including groups like the two you see represented here this evening. So that's an easy one. There are what I call economic imperatives for the country. The energy transition, the digital transformation, as I talked about earlier, the upgrading of infrastructure, the roads, yes, but also internet, making ourselves energy independent, the green transition. All of these speak to imperatives that the country has to embark on, and we need new skills, new enterprises. And certainly we should be training for those, and we should be preparing for those. So, but it's to get it done.
Antoinette Hamilton, where you sit at the MSME Alliance, I wonder, to what extent is the current tax code and the level of government bureaucracy a impediment to your ability to conduct business?
We would say currently to a big extent, and that's why we're somewhat optimistic about some of these reforms that we have seen. So in terms of taxes, when you look at a startup, the first thing that they're going to think of when they make profit is how much I'm going to pay in taxes. So what that does, it doesn't encourage them to come into the formal system. So one of the things that we are advocating for is for an exemption on tax on profits for entrepreneurs in their first 2 years of operation. We believe that that will promote voluntary participation in the tax system, and through that process, those businesses can reinvest their profits into expanding their business so that when these employees are trained, whether through HEART or other institutions, the universities, they have a job to go to, right? So promoting the drivers of growth, which is businesses mainly, right, is important, and we believe that tax reform in that area is needed. Also, we believe also that the tax rate for MSME sector should be reviewed with an intention to reduce it. As the surveys would have shown, we contribute to approximately 80% of the jobs in Jamaica, which means that in terms of payroll taxes, we contribute to a large chunk of that. Now, when you look at, say, a business name, because you have different types of business formation, when you look at a business name, which is like a sole trader that starts a business because they may not be able to afford the cost of registering a company, you're talking about several taxes. So it was good that the government, that the Prime Minister thought about consolidating some of the taxes, but we wanted him to go a little further to say what reduction in taxes will be given to sole traders that we know pay a higher effective tax rate than companies, because we believe that that can help to stimulate, economic growth and job creation. So those two areas are areas that we would like the government to review as well in terms of tax policies for the sector. And we are willing to have that dialogue with them as well in terms of how we envision it working. Another area that that was mentioned was the digitization, right? We are in a different era with employees. They're on their phones, even at work. They're watching movies, even at work. So they are very tech savvy. Now, digitization of certain processes, for example, digital accounting software, that is a critical thing for even just providing access for businesses to financing, because we know that, for example, in order for businesses, MSMEs to access, say, even the DBG facility that is there for them, they need a TCC, they need financial statement. If they don't have records, that is going to be difficult. So in terms of grants and other programs that support implementation of accounting software, which goes back to Mr. Chen's point about persons can work remotely, because once you have a digital accounting software, you can stay anywhere in the world and do the accounting. So those are low-hanging fruits that I think the government can implement immediately. As really, so the tax reform that may require some further analysis in terms of the budget, but definitely it's something that we believe is also feasible in the short term.
Okay.
Another problem that we think that...
I'm sorry, Antoinette Hamilton, we are over time. I really do. I love to cut you off, but we are over time. That is Antoinette Hamilton. She's the president of the MSME Alliance. And we also had with us the president of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen. We thank you both for joining us. Unfortunately, only so many minutes within an hour. Thank you so much, both gentlemen and lady.
Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. The Jamaican economy is estimated to have contracted by nearly 3% for the July to September period, with mixed prospects for the remainder of the year. According to PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry, Hurricane Beryl cost the country over $30 billion.
We are reporting an estimated contraction of 2.8% in real value added during the July to September 2024 quarter relative to the corresponding quarter of 2023. The estimated outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the adverse impact of Hurricane Beryl and other hydrological events. The downturn is due to an estimated contraction in both the goods producing and the services industries.
However, even prior to the passage of the hurricane, the economy showed signs of slowing, recording a contraction of 0.6% from January to September. According to Dr. Henry, the short-term prospects for the country are also poor.
Looking at the short-term economic outlook, October to December 2024, calendar year 2024, and fiscal year 2024-25. Generally, the prospects for Jamaica are negative, due largely to the lingering effects of Hurricane Beryl on the economy, compounded by several other hydrological events. The passage of Hurricane Beryl and the associated damage and loss disrupted economic activity and adversely affected macroeconomic performance. The cost of damage and loss associated with the passage of Hurricane Beryl was estimated at $32.2 billion, or 1.1% of 2023 GDP for Jamaica.
Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General of the PIOJ. Opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson says the Prime Minister Andrew Holness's new inclusive growth initiative is an election ploy which brings nothing new to the table. Speaking with Nationwide News on Wednesday, Mr. Robinson dismissed the proposals as rehashed promises.
Prime Minister really didn't announce anything new. He rehashed a number of previous announcements, commitments that were made in the past but not implemented. So, and from our perspective, having been at the wicket for close to 9 years, 2 months shy of 9 years, it's really not credible for the Prime Minister to come now and talk about inclusive growth when you have had an opportunity over the 9-year period to do a number of the things which he spoke about yesterday. What he needs to tell us is why weren't those things done, or if they were tried, to what extent were they successful, and what were the issues or the obstacles. But, on the eve of an election, 9 months before an election, this seems to be a strategy to reach out to people who are not feeling the prosperity, who are struggling with high cost of living, who believe the country is going in the right direction, to buy more time and to seek another term in office.
As part of this new thrust, several reforms, such as the consolidation of various payroll taxes and raising the GCT threshold for small businesses, are being given active consideration. The opposition spokesman is questioning the timing of the Prime Minister's announcement.
It's also a little strange. It's a couple of days before his annual conference, where I would expect him to make a major presentation there as well. But why now? You've had 9 years to address these issues. And while nobody can challenge the macroeconomic data, the reality is that it hasn't translated into people feeling better about their own personal economic situation and that of their family. So to me, it just seems to be, at this late stage, on the eve of a general election, really asking for time to get these things done.
Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman on finance. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Keith Duncan, is urging the Prime Minister to make good on his promise to cut out bureaucratic red tape as part of his new inclusive growth push.
The Prime Minister indicated a pivotal policy shift from macroeconomic stability to a deliberate and focused strategy around inclusive growth underpinned by fiscal prudence. He provided a comprehensive overview of a growth strategy. However, what stood out for me was a focus around reducing red tape and bureaucratic hurdles that exist in government. Jamaicans from all walks of life have a high degree of frustration around getting things done in Jamaica. That is through the state bureaucracy. It is an important shift in mindset that is required to make it easier to do business in Jamaica.
Keith Duncan, chairman of EPOC. Director of Elections Glaspole Brown says he's awaiting details from the legal team on how to treat the ballots for Friday's by-election in Northwest St. Andrew, following the withdrawal of independent candidate Rowan Banks. Mr. Brown says Mr. Banks' name has already been printed on the ballots.
He's still on the ballot. The ballot is printed already. I've asked my legal people to provide some sort of guidance. I'm waiting on them to provide me that guidance. I don't want to comment on it yet until I get that legal guidance.
Mr. Banks announced his withdrawal from the contest on Tuesday. Mr. Brown says, to the best of his knowledge, Mr. Banks did not follow the correct process to properly withdraw from the race.
Normally, you're supposed to give us 7 days notice that you're withdrawing your nomination. I understand he left a piece of paper at the constituency office, not addressed to anybody as such, but just to say that he has withdrawn his nomination and signed it. I don't know if that's not the way you go about withdrawing your nomination.
Glaspole Brown, Director of Elections. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says almost all market fires are caused by illegal electricity connections. Minister McKenzie was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Wednesday.
9 out of every 10 fires in our markets can be attributed to short circuit, where vendors attach to the GPS system, and because of that you have constant short out of that. And
attach illegally?
Yeah, illegally. And that is why I spoke in the way that I do about the fact that the MCs must now move along with the GPS to disconnect these illegal connections, because this can be attributed to most of the fires that have taken place. It's very few of the fires that you have had in our markets that have been caused because of someone threw a match or something in the bush. It is because of illegal connection.
Minister McKenzie says the funds required to repair recently raised markets has surpassed $400 million.
We are paying a price for it because the bill to carry out repairs to the markets is extensive. The last check I checked, we are looking to find an additional $484 million to rebuild markets that have been destroyed. We have the Highgate market, which is going to cost us over 170 million, and we have the one in Port Antonio that is estimated to cost, I think, somewhere in the region of 200 and something million. And there are other markets, the Lucy market, we have sections of the Coronation markets and the other markets.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Hi-Lo gives you a Merry Christmas. Hi-Lo gives you a Merry Christmas. Hi-Lo gives you a Merry Christmas with 40 days of giveaway.
Win a grand prize of a trip for 2 to Punta Cana and get great daily prizes in the Hi-Lo 40 Days of Christmas promotion. To enter, shop at Hi-Lo, purchase any 6 Hi-Lo branded products and spend a minimum of $10,000. Then write your name, number, and address on the receipt and place in a drop box provided for a chance to win in the Hi-Lo 40 Days of Christmas promotion. Promotion ends December 31st. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. There are no more unbeaten teams left in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League. Defending champions Cavalier, they suffered their first defeat of the season. They went down 1-0 to Racing United in a rescheduled game this afternoon. Andre Campbell scored 2 minutes into the game for Racing's third victory of the campaign. It moved them up to 8th in the standings. Cavalier remains 6th. The league continues tomorrow with another rescheduled game. Dunby Holden will be hosting Tivoli Gardens at 3 o'clock. Former champions Excelsior High School booked the first semi-final ticket in a major schoolboy football competition this season. The Mountain View Avenue-based school defeated another former winner of the title, Eltham High, 7-6 on penalties in the first quarterfinal game at Stadium East this afternoon. The second quarterfinal is on the way, and the outgoing Manning Cup champions Mona High, they are already leading St. Jago by 3-0 at Stadium East as well. The other 2 quarterfinals will be contested on Thursday at the same venue, with Campion College meeting Stats and Tivoli taking on Wolmers. The Ben Francis quarterfinals are also on tomorrow, all 4 of them. Defending world champions Argentina extended their lead in the South American World Cup qualifiers to 5 points after beating Peru 1-0 in Buenos Aires thanks to a 55th minute goal from the Inter Milan star striker Lautaro Martinez. It was Lautaro's 37th international goal, pulling him level with the Argentine legend, the late Diego Armando Maradona. 5-time champions Brazil and Uruguay played out a 1-1 draw in Salvador. Real Madrid's Federico Valverde gave Uruguay the lead on 55 minutes, but that was cancelled out 7 minutes later by Gerson, who was scoring his first international goal for Brazil. Brazil remained 5th in the standings, while Uruguay remained 2nd. In other games yesterday, Captain Ener Valencia scored in the 7th minute as Ecuador defeated Colombia 1-0 away, and Chile beat Venezuela 4-2. Bolivia and Paraguay played out a 2-2 draw. Arsenal legend Patrick Vieira has been appointed new head coach of Italian Serie A club Genoa. The 48-year-old joins a club that is in 17th position in the Italian top flight, 1 point above the relegation zone. The former Crystal Palace manager, who left RC Strasbourg in July, succeeds ex-Italy striker, the 2006 World Cup winner Alberto Ghirardino, who had been in charge since December of 2022. The appointment reunites Vieira Vieira with Mario Balotelli, who signed for Genoa last month. Vieira managed his former Manchester City and Inter Milan teammate at League Onside Nice during the 2018-19 season. Balotelli has since said it was the disagreement with Vieira over tactics that led to his exit from the club in 2019. During his playing career, Vieira won 3 Premier League titles and 4 FA Cups at Arsenal, as well as silverware with AC Milan, Inter Milan and Manchester City. He also helped France to win the 1998 World Cup and the 2000 European Championship. Vieira retired as a player in 2011. Defending champions Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, they've now moved on to 104 for 2 after 16 overs at sports time. They're chasing 340 to beat the Barbados Pride in the first semi-final of the CG United Regional Super 50 tournament at the Brian Lara Stadium in Tarouba. The Pride, who were sent into bat, piled up 339 for 7 in their 50 overs. The foundation was laid on the back of a stunning century opening stand of 142 from Zachary McCaskey, who blasted 94, and Lenika Boucher 69. Other useful scores came from Raymond Reed for 65 and Rustin Chase 43 against Mark Dial 4 for 53. The second semi-final will be played at the same venue, featuring the Jamaica Scorpions and the Leeward Islands Hurricanes. That game is tomorrow. Former Cricket West Indies director and former president of Windward Islands Cricket Board, Dwayne Gill, has been appointed to the role of CWI High Performance Manager, taking over from Graham West. Gill, who is also a former Grenada Cricket Association president, has academic training in business administration and holds a Bachelor of Science and Master's degree. He was the manager of the successful West Indies under-19 team under Shipran Hitmar that won the World Cup in 2016. The High Performance Manager role became vacant on September 30, following the departure of Englishman West, who after 12 years of service to Caribbean cricket has accepted another position. West joined the organization in June of 2012 as head coach of the High Performance Center at Cave Hill in Barbados. He was head coach of the West Indies under-19 team that won that World Cup we just mentioned in 2016, and he also led the West Indies A team to series victories against Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. He was also instrumental in establishing the new men's and women's academy programs at Coolidge and the new 12-month under-19 pathway program. West has taken up the role of Cricket Ireland Director of High Performance. Rafa Nadal's illustrious career came to an end as Spain lost to the Netherlands in the Davis Cup on an emotional night in Malaga. Spanish great Nadal, who has won 22 Grand Slam titles, recently announced the men's team event would be his very last, the last of his 20-year career. In front of a packed, partisan crowd, the 38-year-old star lost 6-4, 6-4 to Botic van de Zandschulp as the Netherlands took an early lead in the best-of-3 quarter-final tie. Carlos Alcaraz, who has taken over the mantle of Spain's leading player, beat Talon Grishpor 7-6, 6-3 in the second singles match to keep Nadal's hopes of another potential farewell appearance alive. But Alcaraz and Marcel Granola were beaten 7-6, 7-3 by Van der Zandschulp and Wesley Fulhor in the deciding doubles. Defending champions Homewood Technical was in spanking form in the Issa Rural Area Under-19 Netball League. They crushed Bishop Gibson High 70-6. The win keeps Homewood Tech unbeaten so far this season, and it pushed them closer to a spot in the semi-finals. Last season's beaten finalists Glenmuir were also impressive. They beat Brownstown 74-9. Denby crushed Morant Bay 85-8. Mount Alvernia got the better of Stets 31-25. Manchester were all over Green Pond 54-19, and Magotty turned back Rhodes Hall 31-15. And we close with basketball. The Cleveland Cavaliers' 15-match winning run came to an end in a thrilling 120-117 defeat by the champions Boston Celtics in the NBA Cup at TD Garden last night. The Cavaliers became just the fourth franchise in NBA history to go 15-0 at the start of a campaign by beating Charlotte on Sunday. But 6 Celtics players, led by their starman Jason Tatum's 33 points, 12 boards and 7 assists, reached double figures to inflict a first defeat on the Cavs. Trailing by 17 points at the break, the Cavaliers mounted a spirited comeback through Evan Mobley, who finished with 22 points, 11 boards and 6 assists. It helped them to make it a 2-point game midway through the final quarter, but the Celtics held out. The Los Angeles Lakers extended their own winning streak to 6 games with a 124-118 victory over Utah. Dalton Netsch, 17 points the number 17 pick in the 2024 draft, scored a career-high 37 points, a 23-year-old match a rookie record by hitting 9 three-pointers in the victory. Elsewhere, Denver beat Memphis 122-110. Dallas turned back New Orleans 132-91. The NBA Cup launched in 2023 and won by the Lakers counts towards regular season standings, but not the championship, which sits outside the regular season. And that will do it for sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
KFC popcorn chicken. KFC popcorn chicken. Incredible, delicious, finger licking in the sauce when me dip it. I can't resist it. Once you start, you can't stop.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Delicious, juicy, irresistible. Now available in barbecue. KFC, it's finger licking good.
KFC popcorn chicken.
Taboo topics,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. A special good evening to our friends over on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for joining us, for staying tuned here on Nationwide 90 FM. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion, and it's one that I believe that everyone must have something to say. About this public opinion question. So let's get to it. We're diving into an issue that strikes at the heart of democracy, voter apathy. General election may very well be next year, constitutionally due, yes, and voter turnout has been on a steady decline. So we're asking, what's keeping you from the ballot box? Voter apathy, what deters you from voting? That's the question we're asking in Public Opinion this evening, and we are going to go to the comments on our Facebook platform right away. Philip Jackson saying that nothing should deter you from exercising your voting franchise. It's your right. Just vote your conscience. Ignorance is the biggest component which some people use not to vote and can also be the reason why they vote wrong. All right, Winston is saying that some people harbor too much hatred for Jamaica and will never participate in the system one way or the other. I have known of an individual who will never vote, an individual Jamaican athlete, Winston is saying, who will never vote in Jamaica,
But during the 2020 election in the United States, after voting, that same person proudly display a voter card on social media for all to see. All right. Michelle Bernard is saying sickness or natural life-threatening disasters hinder me to get to the polling station. Okay. Only those two would cause me to lack interest. Then again, it wouldn't be a case of not being interested, but things beyond my control. Some people think it's smart not to vote because the MP passed the bar they were in and they didn't buy a round of nonsense. Wow. Voting is a given right and should not be taken lightly. Robert Ranger says nothing. Straight. Okay, nothing. All right. Cleveland Richard says there is nothing on earth to stop me from voting. It's my given right to do so. I'm a proud Jamaican. Yeah. And Beverly Barrett believes that some people think they should be paid to vote. Sad. Michael Johnson, that should be. I always go out and vote for the party of my choice regardless. It's my right. And Donovan Smith says corruption and nothing changing for the better. All talk but little to no action. That's his reason for staying away from the ballot box. The question we're asking today, voter apathy. What deters you from voting? That's the question we're putting to you. I'm going to go right on our Instagram page for some of those comments. Empty promises, that's according to Ashane Johnson. Empty promises deter him from voting. Let me see. Jet Slate says, I vote in every election. Nothing can prevent me from voting. It's my constitutional right and my civic duty. All right. Barrington Buck is saying election promises by Andrew Holness, especially the power plants and all of that he promised. Sad indeed. The lowering of crime. Been 9 years and now the promises are being echoed again as the election nears. That's according to Barrington Buck. Shanna Alexa says, nothing. I will be voting. I appreciate Mr. Holness' plan for the country. Weavon is saying lack of representation. What deters you from voting? To answer that question, 40-ish fine is saying unfulfilled election campaign promises, corruption, no improvement, especially in rural areas. Kingston and St. Andrew are the only parishes. We are just the others. Lack of representation, poor infrastructure, government after government. However, she's saying that this government has to go. Okay. Carlene Smith says, I'm not an apathetic voter. I know the power of my vote. I don't see the reason not to vote. I see the reasons to vote. I vote for better or for good, the good that exists. So either way, I will vote. And Father Shane said corruption. Corruption deters him from voting. Let me see what's happening on our YouTube platform. Sharon Kong is saying voting is her right. Kingsley Graham says nothing can stop him from voting. Yeah. Motivator says nothing from your 18. All right. Okay. Charmaine BK, voting should not be a personal matter as long as you educate yourself. Is that voting should... Okay. She's saying voting should not be a personal matter as long as you educate yourself on the issues that affect your country. You can make an informed decision / vote. All right. Jam Grant says, I will have to go and exercise my democratic right as long as I am not sick. David Nabar says, I always go out and vote. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some more. They don't even know why they don't vote. Ask them why, and you will have to laugh at their answer. Yeah, I guess they have the blade and the handle. They decide whether it is that they want to vote. Andre Lawrence on X is saying your voice matters and your vote is your power. Don't let anything keep you from casting it. No obstacle, big or small, should deter you from participating in shaping the future. Stand firm, exercise your right, and make your voice be heard. And Andre is saying, don't vote? Well, don't complain. All right, let me see if I can get in. Griot is saying poor options will deter people from voting. For me personally, I will vote, if even for the better of the two evils. Not voting gives the control to somebody else. The question we're putting to you this evening: voter apathy, voting on a decline. What deters you from voting? What's keeping you from the ballot box? Mildred Hamilton on YouTube saying ignorance. Read the value of universal adult suffrage. I vote due to the value of the latter. Yeah. Juliet Sanchez says voting is my right. All right. Ozra is saying that nothing can stop him from voting. He wishes he could vote millions of times for Andrew Holness. All right. Let me see if I can get in some more. Political analyst says partisans will all find fault regardless of the situation. And Donovan White believes that people vote according to personal reasons. This prime minister is the best so far, he says. Beverly Samuda says voting is a must. I am a true Jamaican. All right. You have some people who think different, yeah? Aisha Morgan says these politicians are not for us. So I suspect, Aisha, you're saying that's one of the deterrents of voting for you. Michael Bailey says, I will always vote for JLP. All right. Samantha Gordon says, voting is my right. Jamrock, more promise. Will be talking Sunday all day by Andrew Holness. Andrew Promise Holness, he says, and other Tell Jamaica too. Promise you. Okay, I'm getting a little bit mixed up here, Jamrock, but you're saying more promises coming. All right. Let me see if I can get in some more. Hameen is saying the days when our ancestors were fighting just to get the right to vote, why now should we not? And I believe someone said many are ignorant of that fact, Hameen. Everall McDonald saying it is my right to go out and vote. I know some of the responses that I've been getting, like whenever I go on the road, some people say, oh, they move from one constituency to another and them can't bother to traverse to that constituency to vote. Bear in mind, you can transfer your vote. Also, another response that we've been getting is that them not get the time for go vote and the line them long. And then somebody reminded me that, oh, voting declined, so there are no long lines. So various responses I've been getting based on what the feedback that we've been getting here. Monica is saying, oh my, will Dr. Andrew Holness is the best prime minister. He's working hard, so I will be voting. It is my right. Let me see if I can get in some more. And, you know, people are big on the corruption issue and trust. People are big on that. Grace 2020 is saying, is voting about one person? All these people calling names. And that's the thing. That's the thing, Grace 2020. There's also that. People oftentimes... And let me not say oftentimes, this is a speculation that people vote for prime ministers. They don't necessarily vote for the representation that they're getting in their constituency. Sometimes they don't even know the person in their constituency. And that's what we've been hearing. I'm not saying I saw it go, but that's what we've been hearing as it relates to voting and voter apathy and all. Audrey is saying, can you imagine I don't vote and my JLP MP lose by 1? Yeah. All right, thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion this evening. That's all the time we have. You know, you do have the option of agreeing and or disagreeing. You're entitled to your own opinion. Thank you guys for participating. Up next, the Business Report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. Gas prices will go down effective Thursday. That's according to the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. E1087 is to move down by $3.06 per litre, and a litre of E1090 will also go down by $3.06 per litre. Automotive diesel oil will move down by $1.98 per litre. Ultra-low sulfur diesel will decrease by $2.70 per litre. The price of kerosene will go down by $2.86. In the meantime, propane cooking gas will go down by $2.31. Butane will move down by $3.06 per litre. Automotive, that should be automobile manufacturer, Ford, has announced it will cut 800 jobs in the UK over the next 3 years. The move is being seen as part of a major restructuring program which will see 4,000 posts closed across Europe as a whole. The company said it had to act because of difficult trading conditions and weak demand for electric vehicles. Ford said it hoped to make the majority of job cuts through voluntary redundancy. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 76 cents to buy the US dollar. It cost 200 Jamaican dollars and 79 cents to buy the British pound and 114 Jamaican dollars and 21 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robian Williams. Good evening.
Delicious meals, poolside cocktails, right on the beach. Disconnect from the daily worries and reconnect with the one you love. There's no paradise like home. Enjoy a romantic all-inclusive escape at Couples Tower Isle in Ocho Rios from $299 per night. Take advantage of this offer today by calling Couples Resorts at 876-632-8200. Conditions apply.
Me grew up as my granny save her money under her mattress. But at an all-time something. That's where I save my money in the bank. And because I want to buy a little house, I also save in a building society. We have to be smart with how we save our money.
So, what if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in. Make I tell you something. With the JDIC Deposit Insurance Scheme, once you save your money in a commercial bank, merchant bank, or building society, your deposit is covered up to a maximum of $1.2 million per depositor per financial institution if the institution fails. All the information that you need is available at jdic.org, and you can follow their social media platform for more information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
All roads lead to the National Arena Sunday, November 24, 10 a.m. for the 81st Annual Conference of the Jamaica Labour Party. Come here, Prime Minister and Party Leader, Dr. the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, stand on a record of performance to deliver on the mission of prosperity for all Jamaicans. Stronger message from the stronger team. Here, heavyweights Bobby Montague, Dr. Horace Chang, Dr. Chris Tufton, Darrell Vaz, Kamina Johnson-Smith, Floyd Green, youth ambassadors and other champions. Bank to bank, JLP River come down for the 81st Annual Conference, Sunday, November 24, 10 a.m. Jam-packed National Arena. Green shirts, belts, flats, check. Stronger leader, stronger party, stronger performance, stronger team, fully active. See you at conference.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Looking to rent a fully operational production studio? Then Nationwide 90 FM has got you covered. We have flexible options to meet your recording needs any day of the week. Monday to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays available upon request. Bookings must be made in advance. Call us today at 630-1210. Let us help you reach your production desires.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, by God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path. Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Informative, educational, insightful. Let's talk justice. Tackling topics like constitutional rights and reform, domestic violence, and rights issues that affect you. Let's talk justice every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Call in, share your thoughts, be empowered, know your rights, and let's talk justice, ensuring access to justice for all, courtesy of Jamaicans for Justice.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
None of mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
It's the West Kingston Constituency Conference at Tivoli Gardens High. Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, November 21 for this broadcast. See you at Tivoli Gardens and hear from party leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Winston Ennis, Fable Williams, Everald Warmington, Matthew Samuda, and others. Plus, stay tuned to hear from Desmond McKenzie. So don't miss Nationwide at 5 on Thursday, November 21 from 6 to 9 p.m. It's the West Kingston Constituency Conference. Catch Nationwide at 5 or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the West Kingston Constituency Office.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the nation's business. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And this evening, we're going to be focused on violence against children. Did you know today's World Children's Day, Siobhan?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Following International Men's Day.
Yeah. How did you celebrate International Men's Day?
I went home and I slept.
Typical man. Fair. Fair. Bogus, how did you celebrate it? Work. Yeah, that's what they expect from men, just work, yeah? And Dana didn't give us anything.
That's what it means to be a pillar and the foundation of the world.
Then Dana didn't give us anything for International. We gave you undying love and affection for International Women's Day. Yeah? So you go. So, we're going to be discussing the issue because UNICEF Jamaica is calling for urgent action for leaders to place children at the forefront of national policies and decision making. And of course, the country is joining the world in observing World Children's Day. And the theme, listeners, it's Listen to the Future, Stand Up for Children's Rights. And in a statement, UNICEF says despite the advancements in policies and advocacy for child protection, significant gaps remain that threaten the well-being of children, particularly in Jamaica. And the United Nations Agency for Children highlights the alarming rates of violence against our children.
Of key concern are the recent findings from the Jamaica Violence Against Children and Youth Survey of 2023. The survey found that 3 in 4 youths aged 13 to 24 have experienced violence in their lifetime. Such exposure, the survey reveals, often leads to severe long-term consequences. These include chronic illnesses, mental health issues, substance abuse, and even the perpetuation of violence.
This year's observance of World Children's Day holds special significance as it coincides with the 35th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Since its adoption in 1989, that convention has been a global benchmark for child rights, fostering progress in education, healthcare, and protection.
Well, to discuss further, we're being joined by Deputy Representative of UNICEF Jamaica, that's Mohammed Mohiuddin. I did my best with that. Good afternoon, Mr. Mohiuddin.
Yes.
Could you just pronounce the surname for us, please?
Good evening. Yes, Mohiuddin, Mohammed Mohiuddin.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. And I want to start with asking you to just give us an overview of the situation UNICEF has found in Jamaica as it relates to violence against children.
Thanks to Nationwide News Network for inviting me to this discussion today. And this discussion is very important considering today is the World Children's Day. And also we are celebrating 35th anniversary of the CRC, Convention on the Rights of the Child. On this day of 20th November 1989, global leaders agreed to this convention by adopting the UN General Assembly resolution. In Jamaica, violence against children is widespread. As you know, 75% of the children are facing violence in different forms as per the latest survey on violence against children. Children are experiencing violence in spaces that should be safe for them, and the level of emotional, sexual, and physical abuse should be concerning for everyone. Studies have shown that when we revisit our norms and values, then we can address these violences in homes, communities, and schools. As adults, we all need to commit to keeping our children safe from violence and aggression. For example, I have heard saying, instead of striking a child, strike up a conversation. So much more can be changed if we talk it out, not fight it out. So finally, I all need to invest more on children, government, development partners, CSOs, communities, and parents. We have to allocate more resources, adapt our policies and systems, and approaches with global practices and changing contexts in the Jamaica. UNICEF can help to adapt these changes with our experiences working in 190 countries in the world and as a custodian of the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Mr. Mohiuddin, you call for there to be the forefront, their children to be placed at the forefront of national policies and decision making. So where do you feel the gaps exist here in Jamaica in terms of policies and decision making?
Well, Jamaica has been consistently taking steps in the right direction since the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of Child, with the legislation like the Child Care and Protection Act and other policy and regulations. But much more needs to be done considering the magnitude of the issue of violence against children. We see every 3 children out of 4 children as victims of violence. So we have recent study on violence against children survey focus on implementing and enforcing laws, including corporal punishment ban in all settings. That, however, will take a social and behavioral change intervention since it is part of many cultures, not just Jamaica. We have to engage with the communities, teachers, churches, and especially parents to change their approach of disciplining children. We need to improve parenting skills, strengthening legislation that limits access to firearms and other weapons by children and adolescents is another one.
Mr. Mohideen, are you still there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. And when you talk about addressing many of these issues, where does the government fall in terms of providing many of those legislative adjustments?
Well, they have done this legislative adjustment, but what you are saying that is implementing is very, very important, and yeah.
And where has that implementation fallen short is what I'm very interested to know.
Like, for example, the corporal punishment ban, it is not yet started implementing because it needs to be implemented. That is the recommendation from the BARC survey. And also extending the legislation that limits the access to firearms and other weapons by children, adolescents is another one. So this is in addition to the existing law, which is Child Care and Protection Act, to protect children from violence.
Mm-hmm. And there was a recent uproar in the society regarding sentences for children who come in conflict with the law. There was a view that children, for example, who committed murder and were found guilty should face pretty severe penalties. Has UNICEF reconsidered its position on that?
Well, we have been working with the Ministry of Justice, and there are processes going on, So we have been supporting Ministry of Justice with the global standard and best practices so that can be addressed in the light of the CRC.
And just remind our listeners what that global standard is.
So in globally in other countries, they are adopting the existing laws and rules and regulations in align with the CRC, Convention on the Rights of the Children. And basically they are addressing the issues from the preventive measures rather than on the punishment measures.
Mm-hmm. But how do you prevent a situation like that where there's so much breakdown of traditional structures that should guide children in Jamaica? What are some of those preventative measures?
I think we need to engage with the community. We need to engage with the parents. We need to engage with the youth and adolescents who are sometimes definitely victims of the violence, and definitely other stakeholders in the society, like the civil society organizations, like the churches and the teachers. So all those community engagement we have to address and talk with them. And definitely in the service sector also, with the government services, we have to work with them and build their capacity so that the capacity of the care institutions and the preventive institutions can work better way, systems can be strengthened better way, and the services can be improved.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any community-based programs now at UNICEF that are ongoing?
Yes, we have been supporting the Ministry of Education as well as the Ministry of National Security to address because they have programs with the schools to engage with the children, to engage with the children, and so that their behaviors are being changed and they are being aware of what are the good practices and what are the best practices. So all those things, the programs are being implemented by the government as well as some NGOs, and we are supporting them.
Mhm. And when you interact with these children in schools, in the communities, do you get the sense that they are open to these kind of interventions?
Yes, they are. They are, and they have excellent ideas. We have Jayan, Jamaica Youth Network. We have regular interaction with them, and some of them we have been trying and making them as an advocate for addressing those issues. And we have brilliant exercise with them and interaction with them. And all those feedbacks we are getting from them are being incorporated in our programs and designs. And also we are arranging meetings between the ministries and the policymakers and those youth networks so that there is a connection between the demand side and the supply side.
Mm-hmm. There's a cultural perception in Jamaica that children should be seen and not heard. What more do you think we can do to get parents to, because you talk about involving children in policy, and I suppose you don't want to start that by involving them, for example, in decision making in the home. Mm-hmm. What more can we do to ensure that parents take that seriously?
I think the whole essence is for the welfare of the children. If we are doing something both at policy level and at home level, we are thinking of the children, we have to also listen to them. But you see that sometimes times are changing. The way we are moving ahead, the times are changing, so we have to also listen to their voice, and what they are saying, what are their issues, what are their concerns, and try to, if within the limit of the culture and norms, how we can accommodate those concerns being raised by the youth and the children.
You say within the limits of the cultural norms.
Yes.
For example, in this country, we have a kind of divide sometimes between rural and urban. Does that complicate the work when you say in the limits of the cultural norms? Because perhaps
it is. But what we have some programs like we are trying to address the parenting skills. So through that program, what we witnessed, the ones they have been given additional skills and training and capacity building the parents.
Yes.
And after that, the improved relations between the parents and the children improved significantly. Mm-hmm. So I think these are the areas where we have to look a bit in deep way and address those issues. The main issue to prevent those is to improve the parenting skills. Because all parents are not equal. They have different levels in the context of education level and also in the context of the socio-cultural level.
And in terms of improving those parenting skills, does UNICEF provide support in that area?
Yes.
What kind of programs, for example, if there is a new mother or a new father or a new couple and they're about to have their first child and they feel overwhelmed, how do they reach out to UNICEF to, say, provide them with some assistance?
We are not directly working with them, but we are supporting the parenting commission. So they have the design, they have the design program for that to address those issues, and we are supporting them technically and sometimes financially as well.
And have you found there to be a good reception or in terms of the parenting commission's efforts on that front?
It is.
All right, Deputy Representative for UNICEF Jamaica, Mohammed Mohiuddin, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much to you also. Thank you to your listeners as well.
Yeah. So, listeners, as we observe World Children's Day, coinciding with the 35th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, remember to protect children, care for children, allow them the healthy room and space to grow, and abandon the idea that they should be seen and not heard. I saw a video earlier from UNICEF where they had some children and they were asking them what their rights are, and the children were saying things like, in their innocence, I have the right to play, I have the right to dance, that kind of a thing. And then there was a little girl and she said, I have the right to be seen and heard. Yeah? Were you seen and heard?
I just behaved myself until I turned around, 13, 14, and I was a bit of a monster to my mother.
Okay. But started talking back.
It's all worked out in the end, huh?
Allegedly.
It's a process. You go through life, and life is a process. Children have to learn to express themselves, and
And parents have to provide the room for them to do that.
And in expressing themselves, sometimes they do step out of line, and it's how the parent reacts to that, because that is a process of learning. It's one thing to tell somebody why they shouldn't do something, but for them to actually understand why they shouldn't do it, they have to experience what the reasoning is behind why you set down such a ground rule. And I think that's where sometimes parenting lacks.
Him sound like him have a youth, don't Bugs? Nana youth, you know? Nana youth. Bugs, I know. That's the nation's business. Think like a stockbroker with Siobhan Campbell is next.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The time by the 1JN Passport app is
7 o'clock.
I saw you want to live. I walk and look over your shoulder. No sleep at night. I wonder if your family safe. Your mother, your brother, your sister, your youth them. And when you get catch, are you alone? But not there to help you. You have to talk for yourself a court. And then when you're gone behind the bars, them see them on their road. I live them life and I enjoy life. Gang violence don't make no sense. Leave gang violence alone. Let's work together and make Jamaica a safer and peaceful country. Let's all live good.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Some see the glass half empty. Others see the glass half full. You check if there's water in the tap, because smart investors think ahead. This is Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker, giving you a clearer perspective on the investment markets.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to another exciting episode of Think Like a Stockbroker, Sagicor Investments' premier program to help you navigate the market. Joining me again is Jodian Ayres. She's Assistant Vice President at Sagicor Investment for Research and Strategy. Good evening, Jody. How are you doing?
Good evening, Siobhan. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing quite well. We have some interesting topics today. But before we go into them, we have to do a quick recap. We now have a better picture from last week as to how the elections in the United States have shaped up. We know that the Republicans will now have control of the presidency, the Congress, and the Senate. And just to give our listeners a look back and to see how such events can shape the stock market.
I think ideally we'd like to be in a world where we can say, when one political party is in power, it means that equities is going to do well. Or, if it is that they have control of 3 segments of the government, it means something. But unfortunately, the data doesn't show that. What we really see is that the markets really do react to the policies that each political party would put out. And so what you'd find is that following the results of the election, or that initial period of results coming out, you would have seen that the market would have had some movements the next day. And that's what we call some amount of short-term repricing, just based on how it is that investors are seeing that there are likely to be changes in terms of the economic landscape. And so if we look particularly at equities, we'd have noted that areas such as those in clean energy would have seen a dip in price. And that's really largely due to the fact that, President-elect Trump is not necessarily for that sort of a era. And so there's concern that some of those incentives that they may receive may be pulled back. And that could have issues for the bottom line. We'd have noted that for financial companies, for example, banks, they would have seen an uptick in terms of price movements. And really what pushed that is coming into the election, there was quite a bit of idea, coming that there would be some amounts of leniency for financial institutions in terms of banks, in terms of the reserves that they need to have. It may not be as stringent as they thought it would have been. And so that would have brought a bit of optimism that we could see more happening for the financial companies, and we'd have seen an uptick in terms of prices for those companies. So it's really that the market watches the policies, not so much in terms of which political party it is that would have won or not won, or the scale of, how it is, the landslide or anything like that. It's really the policies and how it is that we think those could have some impact on listed companies.
I noticed the market also tends to react to some of the individual picks made by the president for key positions, such as for the Department of Health and Energy and areas such as that. For example, I see where the market dipped based on President Trump's choice for the Department of Energy.
Energy is a key one. I think we'd have seen where initially there would have been of an uptick in terms of how it is that you are going to be positioning. Is it that with this new person or this new elect that you're looking at, is it that there's going to be some amount of scaling back in certain areas? Is there going to be ramping up our production? How is it that they're seeing? Is it a particular segment in energy that they like? And so that's really what the market reacts to. It's really what it is that that individual is bringing forward, what it is that they are standing for, and it's likely to see, and how it is that that will impact.
We like to look at many of the economic releases to see how that could shape things going forward. Do you have any new information for us coming?
Yes. So recently we'd have seen where the inflation information for the US market came out, and so we saw where prices for the month of October had a bit of an uptick. And, you know, it is generally in line with expectations. So what we'd call that 12-month movement, the point-to-point inflation, is now at 2.6%. And the market's reaction is largely not... There wasn't much reaction to it, just because it's what it was expected to happen. I think what we're seeing with markets is that based on the outturn for October, you're seeing that we're likely to see another cut coming in December. What we're also looking forward to, or what the market is now looking, is will the Fed continue to do as many cuts as we thought they would in 2025? And part of that discussion really comes from the fact that there's going to be, or the expectation based on how it is that President Trump would have been touting, is that there's likely to be some tariffs that's going to come. And if we are going to be having additional tariffs, then that could cause some inflationary pressures. And if it is that there's going to be inflationary pressures, it means, therefore, that the Federal Reserve would have to then consider should we do as many cuts as we probably were planning because of that impact on inflation. So what the market is not so much in terms of that outturn for October, that 2.6 points a point. It's really so much what it is that we're likely to see for next year is really the concerns. I think some of it in the market has already started to price in the possibility that we may not see as many cuts as we were either hoping for next year or, you know, as we thought would have happened.
So these things don't tend to happen in a vacuum. You have a new presidency coming in, and the Federal Reserve will have to essentially shape their policies around many of those decisions, correct?
Yes, yes.
Well, we're still in the United States and it's still earnings season. Do you have any new information in terms of new earning outcomes that have come out?
Yes, I'd like to touch back. I think about 2 weeks ago, we'd have spoken about Amazon, and we spoke that they were seeing an improvement, and we saw an uptick in the stock price. And the improvement in terms of their financial performance really came from growing in terms of consumer sales, retail sales, moving upwards, as well as they're seeing more coming out from their digital advertising space. But what we also noted is recently is that Amazon would have announced that they're going to be having a new segment, and it's really more of a discount e-commerce segment to really compete with spaces such as Temu and Shein.
Interesting.
Right. And so you'd have noticed that once they made that announcement, that there was actually an upward movement in the stock price. And I wanted to highlight Amazon particularly because it's important for us as investors, and more so us as analysts, that will keep a track on the industry that a company operates in. So not just looking at the company and what it's likely to do, but the industry, what's happening in that space. Are there shifts that's happening within that industry that a company operates in, and how is it that it's preparing to adapt to those shifts? And so one of the shifts we'd have noticed is that there is a very big demand towards the discounts, e-commerce, and, you know, fast fashion has been with us, but now we're seeing discounted prices for fast fashion. And so this new segment, or this new line from Amazon, is going to be having products that are ranging between $10 and $20. And that really is how it is positioned itself to be competitive, because if it's a company does not remain competitive, what you find is that the market runs away, leave you, or it moves away, the industry moves, and you're left stuck. So particularly, you know, it's key for us to be keeping watch on the segment that the company operates in.
Interesting, Jody. So are there any other companies that we should be watching out for on the horizon?
I'd recommend Disney. It's one of the companies that I like to watch as an analyst, largely because it has some segments of it which is consumer discretionary, and it gives a picture as to what is happening in the economy. And consumer discretionary are those goods that we don't really need, but if we have extra cash, we'd likely to indulge.
So luxury goods.
Yeah, right. So we'd like to indulge. And one of the things for Disney is that, they have the theme parks, which are not necessarily necessities, but it's something that persons would indulge in. And I typically like to watch companies like Disney because you get a feel of how it is that consumers are spending in areas that are not necessarily needed. Well, in this state, though, we won't be able to get much guidance in that area because of the theme parks and the weather issues that were impacted there, because we had the series of hurricanes,
Florida,
right? And so there's not much guidance that I could be able to get from there. But just in general, keeping in touch with Disney, what it is that we're seeing is that their streaming services are actually starting to pay off big time for them. And so we noticed that there's quite a bit of jump in terms of earnings and profit for the company, just based on the fact that the streaming services are doing well. And when it is that they coupled streaming with the ESPN Plus Sports streaming that they started to have, actually saw a reversal from a negative last year into a positive this year, and it's a big positive. So we moved from about negative 400 million into somewhere about 200 or 300 million dollars. And so it actually provides quite a bit of impetus. And just keeping in vein, as we spoke about Amazon and companies making that shift, what we're noticing for Disney is that the traditional TV space has changed, and you notice now that they have branched off into doing the streaming services, which is where persons are. And so that really points to how it is that companies shift in market spaces. So you don't want to have a company that is a big company doing well, but then there are changes within their industry and they're not responding. And so that's one of the key things that I think, as investors, that we really need to look at and highlight.
That's interesting, So it's very important for companies to adapt. They can't just stay static. They have to move with the times, as you've pointed out, with things like Netflix streaming, which has become quite dominant. And now Disney Plus is also coming on the uptick. Good to know. And with all this information we've kind of accumulated over the weeks and months now of Think Like a Stockbroker, I'm sure you still get the often strange question, for example, when a stock price isn't doing quite that well, when it seems to have fallen off somewhat, does that mean that that money just disappears into the ether?
No, it doesn't. So what it is that, so think of it in terms of if it is that you buy a car. If you buy a car, you pay the dealer or the seller a particular price, and then next year or 2 years later, when it is that you're considering to probably sell that car, the value of it has actually fallen. And so it's not that that money disappeared, right? So it's similar with stocks. What happens is that the investor's perception of a particular company or stock may change. And it just means that the value that you attributed to a company has shifted within a period of time. So it means that when you would have bought the company or bought the stock, it was valued at this because that's what we thought would have happened. Within a year, within 2 months, things may have changed, and investor perception for that particular stock, probably dipped or it could have increased. So it can go either way. But you actually don't feel the loss until it is that you have sold. So it's really unrealized. So it's really paper change for the most part when it is that you buy it and you have it on your portfolio and you notice that there's a decline. It's not until you sold that you really realize the loss there. But in terms of how it is that you prepare, because this is something that happens, market fluctuates, right? So it's not something that I can get rid of. It's not something I can say, it will never happen to you as an investor. But the key thing is how it is that you prepare for particular swings within the markets when there's up and when there's down. And we have always mentioned to our clients that it is really keen that you have more of a long-term focus. So if it is that your focus is more long-term, you find that you're able to ride out those ups and downs when it is that you purchase quality stocks. So if you purchase a stock that's doing well, a stock that has quality fundamentals, meaning that it has strong balance sheet, it has strong growth potential, it's paying consistent dividend, it is trading at a decent price to earnings ratio. Those type of companies over time will have you up and down in terms of swings. But if it is that you're in for a long haul, then you find that you tend to ride those swings out. We also do recommend that you have some amount of cash within your portfolio, because cash helps you if it is that there's a dip in the price for a quality company to actually purchase a little bit more of it. So you could increase your holdings in that particular company, and then you'd actually have now a change in terms of your position cost. So then your average cost would dip a bit. So when it is that there's an uptick, you'd have some amount of, not everything in your portfolio is down because you'd have bought some at a lower price as well. And it also helps as the general rule, diversification, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's not really a pretty thing to go in and look at your portfolio and say all red. So if it is that, you can diversify, not just have one thing in your portfolio, but you have different segments, different industries within your portfolio, then if there's a particular industry that's heavy hit, then there's probably another sector that you'd have securities in that would, be in the green, and that would help to balance, right? So those are some of the key things that we, have that sort of a discussion with our clients. But it's not that your money disappears into thin air.
With all that in mind, Jody, what's this week's stock pick?
So I think our stock pick for this week is actually Mailpac Group Limited, and it is in keeping with the same theme that we have been discussing, that you need to watch what's happening within your industry space when it is that you are looking at companies. Mailpac, as most of us would know, is actually a company that participates in both international and local courier space, as well as it has online shopping services as well. And it's a company that was fairly recently listed on the stock market, on the junior stock market. So it listed in 2019. In late December or mid-December thereabouts in 2019, it was listed on the stock market. So it's a fairly new company to the stock market. What it is that we have been noticing about the segment in terms of local and international courier space, which is the large portion of their business, is that there has been quite a bit of new entrants into that space. So if you think about a conversation probably 10, 15 years ago, talking about a local courier, it would have probably been one of four persons. Now when it is that you have a conversation about a local courier, almost everybody has a different person that they use. And, I've never heard of that one is that new. And so it's quite an industry that has the opportunity for easy new entrants, right? This is something that if we think about when we're learning economics and business, we learned about, those 5 rules, the Porter's 5 rules, right? And so you think about the ease of entry. So it's an industry that has quite a few new entrants that comes in quite frequently. And when we looked at Mailpac's numbers for 2023, the end of year financial, December 2023, what we'd have noticed is that, the revenue growth was a little bit sluggish. So there was growth, but it wasn't much. It was basically, marginal growth in terms of year-over-year performance. And when we look now in terms of when it is that they have given us their September results, so that 9 months into the year, we actually see where revenue has grown quite a bit. In fact, revenue for the first 9 months of 2024 is actually in excess of revenue for all of 2023. And what has largely led to this is that they would have done an acquisition. So they would have acquired a company that's already in the courier space, and that would have been something that has been able to push their revenue growth. When it is that we look and we dissect in terms of this company, in terms of the quarterly performance, when we look at Q1, which is before they had the acquisition, we actually saw that revenue took a little bit of a dip. So revenue was down, single digit down. And by the time we got to Q2, which is it would have been when they started or when they had finalized the acquisition in April, which would have been the start of Q2, we're noticing that revenues actually grew by about some 50%, which is a big movement, right? And when it is that we look at the Q3 numbers, which is the July to September numbers, revenues would have grown about 80%. And this would largely be linked to the fact that they would have done this acquisition. So it's, I guess, cementing the point that we really do need to, watch companies in terms of what it is that they're doing and how it is that they're reacting to what's happening in the market space. So we see a company like Mailpac operating in a space that has quite a bit of entrance. And so they have acquired a company and increased their market share within the space. And this has actually allowed for some amount of improvement. Actually, not some amount, a good amount of improvement in terms of the revenue. But as astute investors, we don't really just stop at the revenue line. We know that there are more elements to the financials. And so when it is that you drill down, what it is that we're noticing is that, and it's part of the the acquisition, what happens, that there has to be a time that you allow for companies to have that sort of a synergy. There are two different entities that are coming together. There has to be an allowance for how it is that we get those to be now operating as one of sorts. And so in terms of what we saw in, there's going to be an increase in terms of now your administrative expenses, that operating cost is also going to increase. So even though you're having more revenue, is it that the company is able to maintain the margins that they have? Is it able that they're able to gain some amount of efficiencies from acquiring a new company? And we are noticing that with Mailpac, as it is that we continue to drill down, you'd also want to watch the finance costs, because how it is that they're able to fund an acquisition. Was it through debt, or did they use cash on the balance sheet? And if it is that they would have used it, then there would have been additional interest expense. So those are things that, even though you have additional revenue, are going to be taken away from that additional revenue, because how it is that would have funded this purchase. And you want to allow some amount of time in terms of for a company to work through and to allow for those synergies to happen in terms of an acquisition, and for it to somewhat normalize in terms of how it is that the operations work. And so when we look at the bottom line for Mailpac, we do note that whereas for Q3, there's actually quite a bit of a growth Q3 over Q3 last year in terms of the net profits. On the 9 months period, it's not as quite, we're not seeing that quite of a leap as yet. But some of that is also linked to the fact that we'd have also seen a dip in Q1. So it's really, when you look at that 9 months, even though there's improvements in your Q2 numbers or your Q2 and Q3 numbers, there's still a bit of a lingering in your Q1 numbers. And so it's really something that you have to be keen in watching. So, even though acquisitions are good and they can add to your revenue line, you also need to watch what else is happening and how it is that those are going to change over time. And I think one of the things we do like about Mailpac is that in their reporting, they do give some amount of guidance as to what it is to expect for us. So they provide an outlook, and it's really good for companies that provide an outlook. That as investors, we tend to read it and watch and see, are they living up to what it is that they promised to do? And it's really interesting for us, this particular one, because it's a company that, comes into the market fairly new. As I said, it would have been listed in 2019, and to see the consistent dividend payments, to see them doing acquisitions, it's quite interesting to see, and really something lovely to watch. It's typically one of those companies for us at Sagicor Investments that we're watching, and we do provide guidance on. And so, as usual, you may reach out to your Sagicor Investments wealth advisor to discuss Mailpac or any other company that's listed on the stock market, as well as anything that I have touched on today.
And thank you again, Jody Ann, and thank you, listeners and viewers, for joining us for another episode of Think Like a Stockbroker. Please come back and join us next week, same time.
That was Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. Smart investors think ahead. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. When you build wealth with Sagicor Investments, you never have to settle for less than your dreams. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor, so Sagicor Investments can help you create, grow, and preserve your wealth.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. What the JLP can learn from the Democratic Party loss in the U.S. presidential election. Political commentator Lloyd B. Smith, in his November 15, 2024 Daily Observer column, made an insightful observation of a change in the demeanor of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. With specific reference to his language, Smith wrote that the Prime Minister has become increasingly combative, vitriolic, and bellicose in his utterances when on the political hustings. Following is a direct quote from Smith's column. The Prime Minister must be very angry and agitated when he sees himself and his party sliding in the polls after all the wonderful things they claim to have achieved, and may well be saying behind closed doors that the Jamaican people have been ungrateful and even wicked. End quote from Lloyd B. Smith's column. In the same edition of the Daily Observer that carried Lloyd B.'s column, there was also a story covering the Prime Minister's address to party faithful attending a recent fundraiser hosted by the husband-wife team of Daryl and Anne-Marie Vaz. This is, in part, what the Prime Minister was reported saying. There is no other government that can claim to have faced a pandemic. There is no other government that can claim to have faced all the climate events that we have. There's no other government that can claim to have faced the massive supply challenges that we have had with inflation and other supply shocks. And there is no other government or administration that has managed these challenges as we have. End of quote from Prime Minister Holness' speech at a party fundraiser in Portland. Learning from the shock defeat of the Democrats in the just concluded U.S. presidential election, while such words will undoubtedly rile up party diehards and ready them to do political battle with the wider electorate, they will fall on deaf ears. As far as words go, messaging is key to winning political contests. While the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris spoke to the mind with uplifting and self-actualizing themes of the administration's achievements, vision for a better future, continuity, the Constitution, freedom, and even joyfulness, Donald Trump spoke to the belly, emphasizing and even exaggerating the physiological needs: food, shelter, health, safety. Psychologist Abraham Maslow popularized the theory that humans are motivated by the lowest unmet needs, not by highfalutin philosophy or promises of grandeur. To put it in simple language, Bob Marley say, "Them belly full, but we're hungry. A hungry mob is a angry mob. Rain a fall, but the dirt it tough. A yatta yuk, but the food not enough." So says Bob Marley. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, wily politician that he is, understands how the thing's set. In published comments after the local government elections, he admitted in his public comments that he deduced from the results that while people are happy with the progress made by his administration, there are problems with bad roads, poor water supply, high costs of living, and the like. Get off the prosperity train. Meet the people where their needs are. Talk bread and butter issues and make some money run or face their wrath at the polls. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Shop and win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Spend
Spend $6,000 or more before GCT at any Megamart location and fill out the entry form provided for a chance to win a brand new stove, fridge, and microwave this Christmas from Appliance Traders Limited. Visit us on social media to win monthly prizes courtesy of Lasco, Grace Foods, and Facey Commodity Company Limited. Promotion runs from September 30 to December 6. Shop now to win a mega kitchen from Megamart. The best value by far. Conditions apply. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back, listeners. We're going to now take your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Come chat with us after this little break.
Ready to make every step count? The CB Group UE5K is back for its 13th year, and together we're changing lives. And this year we're aiming for 100 more scholarships, 100 more dreams fulfilled. Join us on Sunday, November 24 at 6:30 a.m. at UE Mona. Let's run for dreams, run for hope, and run for a brighter future at the CB Group UE5K and Run with Passion Kids K. Register now at runningeventsja.com and let's make a difference one step at a time.
It's the West Kingston Constituency Conference at Tivoli Gardens High. Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, November 21 for this broadcast. See you at Tivoli Gardens and hear from party leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Winston Ennis, Fable Williams, Everald Warmington, Matthew Samuda, and others. Plus, stay tuned to hear from Desmond McKenzie. So don't miss Nationwide at 5 on Thursday, November 21 from 6 to 9 p.m. It's the West Kingston Constituency Conference. Catch Nationwide at 5 or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the West Kingston Constituency Office.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads Podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're taking your calls. The numbers 630-937-124, 618-8255. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Savannah. Evening. I would have thought Julian, because Nigel Clark gone, yeah, Julian come out from where he was. Like he want to contact Miss Fabian. Hello?
Come again, Carl, what was that?
I heard Julian come out. I don't know if because Nigel, not there, Julian come out and shell now. But I hope he knows that Miss Fabian and an easy somebody.
But he was responding to the Prime Minister's new initiative. Right. I don't think he was responding specifically to anything
They
Williams said.
never respond to the Minister of Finance. Anyhow, what Mr. Holness come with last night, if we did have an opposition would make any sense, those were policy that the opposition should have looked for, crafted to sell to the Jamaica people, more than the government still a craft policy, a long-term policy a put out. And instead the opposition find something to say they can counteract it and come out and say, election promise. Where is this full opposition come from? But everybody been calling for this opposition for almost 2.5 years. Where is your manifesto? And this opposition can't come with nothing to show anybody that you can spin it and look at it careful. And when you hear discussion of somebody who are thinking, then Julian jump out our box, come up and talk.
But doesn't Mr. Robinson have a point that many of the things that the Prime Minister mentioned in that Aspire Jamaica thrust were things that he had already suggested were on the cards as far back as, I think, 2020, 2019?
As far as you can remember. So if you can remember that we are just coming out of an epidemic. Not true, and a lot of things we should put forward. We did have to push back them. So if they have to come up back now to show us, well, after a third term, these are things that we are going to put to the people of Jamaica, and this is where we want to take the country. What is wrong with that?
Not suggesting anything is wrong with it, but I'm just saying, don't you think that Mr. Robinson has a point? He's suggesting that a lot of this is ground we've already trod.
No, Mr. Robinson, you need to come. You see, when you hear somebody talk from this, you must try to come and say, this is the way you would have done it. But just come now to criticize it doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay. So you think the PNP should come with their own policies?
Exactly. And put it to us. Make we look at it and see if it is better more than what we are inherit for almost 9 years now. But just come and criticize something doesn't make any sense.
All right, Carl, but
calling upon these people for almost 4 years now. Where is your manifesto?
But all right, Carl, but you accept that there is still room for criticism, at the very least?
Yes, I accept that.
Oh, okay.
If a leader come with one rubbish on a stadium, and then they have their conference, I remember saying you discuss it. Then they want to take from a better person, which is a teacher, to give. Take from a poorer class person to give to a teacher, which is better than a poorer class person. And you notice everybody back off of it because it is rubbish. That is another thing we run into it. We talk about take from the poor and give to the rich.
Carl.
Yes, please.
Do you think the Jamaican people are issues-based voters?
Repeat, please.
Do you think the Jamaican people vote on issues?
So are you saying that the Jamaican
No,
people
I'm
are
not
done?
saying anything. I'm asking you a question. Yes or no?
Of course, the Jamaican people vote on issues.
You believe so?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I wouldn't like to know that I could be into a country where the people doesn't vote on issues. A fool can come around and tell you all kind of rubbish. And then you just suck up to it, like what some people used to tell me in the 90s.
Yes.
And Jamaica people used to suck up to it. I would say what we did get.
So,
Anyhow.
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right. So, the voter turnout has been, declining steadily, right? And the people who turn out now, in the majority of those people, you're saying you believe vote on issues.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
One of the thing about maybe why the voting going down, it doesn't have a next side that is putting out issues and policy to drive some hopes in the people. So it's only one side that push out some policy, some ideas, or what country must run, but the other side is just there. That's a laba and it expects it. And your decoration will lead them to Jamaica House. That's all and they sit down there and discuss and your wholeness decoration.
Yeah.
And it's flying at them.
I had an experience this evening, Carl, and I share it with you. I was in traffic for about an hour and a half, right? And
the radio is what I heard.
Right. And I was taking a cab, right?
Right.
And I told the driver that I needed to be here for 5 o'clock because I have to present the news. I missed that. And he tried to take all kinds of back roads and, whatever. And, the more he tried to find a route to drive, the more frustrated he became. And almost every road he turned on, to be very frank with you, there was a pothole on the road, right?
Yeah.
Which also slowed down the traffic. And he had very colorful words, choice words. And he said, we were by that point, we were close to Nationwide. It's about the point where Siobhan was starting the cover story. And I heard the taximan say, and then him a talk about him want win election. And I talk about backside spark.
And I talk about park.
Backside spark. Yes.
Oh.
The government's
Well,
road. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to appreciate the extent to which a segment, I don't know how large a segment, and I wouldn't try to quantify it, but a segment of the Jamaican people are deeply frustrated.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Right. And
the rain have come in to mess up some of the road, and people are where me operate vehicles.
But you see those explanations you're giving. I have serious doubts that it is pacifying or satisfying the Jamaican a segment. Let me put it that way: a segment of the Jamaican population.
So are you saying then, if we just get up and just think about a piece of bread or fish up in our mouth tomorrow morning, and that's how our country should govern?
You may not.
We're suggesting that is important to a lot of Jamaicans.
Right. You may not think so. You may look at it differently. So hold on. And so my question to you, remember the first question I asked you, do you believe the Jamaican people, the segment of the population that now vote on issues? If you are wrong, Carl, if you are wrong, and as Siobhan suggests, the segment that cares, as you put it, about bread just stuffing at their mouth a morning, if you are wrong, I fear the Wholeness Administration is in trouble. If you are wrong, it is to be seen if you are right. And this is an issues-based country. I have grave doubts about that. But I hope you are right. I hope you are right. But I have grave doubts about that.
We have very intelligent people around Jamaica.
Absolutely.
Now.
Absolutely. No question about that.
Where people could have hug up one time and tell them rubbish.
The question, though, Carl, is if the majority of those who will turn out are the people you are describing now. I am saying to you, I have doubts about that.
Okay.
All right? We will see. We will see.
Anyhow, before we finish up, the you're a man who run a while. You remember who did put Jamaica people on contract in Jamaica with government?
I know which government ended it in large part. But you mean for the public sector, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was PJ Patterson government.
Mm.
And I heard Golding talk about the tourists, the workers at the tourists in the hotel. They must come off a contract. The government must remove them off a contract.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes have to wonder if when time this man is going to say something.
Mm-hmm.
If he tap and think what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just anything will just come to him out if he can't get something to hit somewhere. Because Sunday he make a mistake with the staircase or fall along, and by this evening today or yesterday 12 o'clock news, him a quarrel about. And I see him same government did put Jamaica people on contract. And I remember, see, that anybody can get up now and demonstrate in Jamaica.
Mm.
You remember one demonstration with the Water Commission and the PMP, them from right in a golden constituency. They go there with big pickaxe and tell them to go back and work.
Yeah. All right, Carl.
You remember that, though?
All right, Carl. Yeah, before I go to Faithful, the YouTubers are doing some serious coping. And this is why I say, I have grave doubts that those who support this government, and it's the same, the parallels now, Siobhan, are starting to become, I can't escape the parallels.
You're talking in terms of the U.S. election?
Yes. It's the same way, you see these YouTubers, one man talking and Ricardo run with it. Where's the other one? Ricardo, I hate when you speak for us all. It's shameful and disgusting. It is the same way, and there are others, that the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, earnestly believed that by telling the American people inflation is down, unemployment is down. What were the other talking points?
Oh, the economy is fine.
The economy is
we'll
fine.
Just continue the program under Joe Biden.
I am warning labor rights. You are making a grave mistake by dismissing criticisms. I pointed to the example of the taxi driver. I have other examples. I've been in the line at the supermarket. I've been at the barber shop. I have been in classes at the University of the West Indies. I do not come to this position because of what happened this afternoon. I use this as an example to say the level of frustration that I am sensing. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Spectacularly on November 5th. Could be wrong. I'm just saying the level of frustration I'm sensing ought not to be dismissed. And the fact that your prime minister, the party leader, is not dismissing it, and the supporters, those who should carry the message, are problematic.
And I think I should remind the YouTubers, because as we like to point out, many of you are well informed and keep in touch with the issues.
Absolutely. And listen to the news. Exactly.
Simply, they don't have the time or the wherewithal to do that. All they can think about is, how am I going to put food on the table tomorrow? And that is what
let me draw the parallel with America. What is the price of eggs?
Exactly.
Yes.
That is what preoccupies their mind.
It came down to that for a lot of people. And I am saying those who are, let's call them high information voters, right? Let's say these YouTubers are high information voters because they follow the news. They're on Nationwide every day, so they know what's happening in the news. My only question, and as I say, I could be wrong. The people who will turn out on that appointed date next year, is this YouTube chat representative of the wider population? Are they as engaged? Are they as tuned in? Are they being driven by facts? I have grave doubts. That's all me I say.
And when you put those individuals in context, they're not looking to say, well, the PNP will do X and Y when they go into power. What they're looking at is what is currently in front of them. Is the government
and
providing what I want?
Precisely.
And they're saying to themselves, no.
And the anger may lead people to irrational outcomes. It literally just happened. It literally just happened. There are people who say them just never dare see it. And it became a point where they just stopped listening to what Biden and Harris were saying. So she could have had the best economic policies and promised manna from heaven. They did not believe her. Who is next? Faithful, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Shaban. Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to talk about needs. I wanted to talk about needs, but I will say this to Carl. The litmus test should be in Anton, because I don't think they're going to win St. Thomas. And the two parliamentary seats, they are uncontested by the PMP. So if they cannot retain in Anton, then that would be a good set for them to see.
If the JLP cannot retain in Anton?
In Anton, yeah.
Okay.
Seat in Clarendon.
Yeah.
That's one. And I would say this as the Prime Minister say it take about 8 months to find out the reason why they lost election, the local government election. And it takes some more time to know that what is MP need more than anything else, a more caring. I think that's where Carl should to put his emphasis on. Because what is happening in the international scene may not spell out in the to the local class of people, to the lower part, and those are the people who vote. So we can speak as much as we want to talk about our economy is good and all of that. If the man downstairs not feeling it, God, that's the person going to vote. We will just come like we shouting to ourselves and talking to the choir that we always sing to and feel that is the winning margin. If it is the independent and undecided voter, because if you're gonna check the base, when you come from base, PMP always have a bigger base than JLP.
Well, I don't know if that is still the case. I mean, as I say, this next election is going to prove a lot of things. I don't know. I sense that some realignment will happen. I just don't know which way it will realign. But I don't know if that is still the case. But I hear you. I mean, historically, yes, that's the argument.
No, but I put this to you. Mm-hmm. The election that happened in 20, I think that was people definitely never want to vote for the PMP. But I put this to you that if the PMP base turnout and JP base turnout, PMP will win. That's one. Two.
And we don't have to look very far for examples of that. It just happened in February.
Yeah. Because we can talk about who nice and what they said to Biden in the election. They say they don't like Trump behavior.
Right.
At least when Trump was there, the frustration was not that great.
Right.
And they're going to speak to the frustration that they are feeling now. It is not to say that the government not trying, but what a man is feeling is what a man is feeling.
Yeah.
And a man is going to vote based on what he's feeling.
And I think people...
So we can show that most as we want to shout in the echo chambers.
I think a lot of people have this misconception that people are going to either vote with the JLP or vote with the PNP. But there's another way to vote. You can essentially just vote against the JLP.
And I have come to recognize that there's no stronger vote than a protest vote.
Yeah. So what is it in Clarendon? Whoever win, if it's JP maintain it, then that's job. But if they can't maintain that, well, I think they are in big trouble. The needs.
Yes. We can't wait to get our needs. I want to sign up.
Not your time yet. Not your time yet. You're not part of the pilot.
Oh.
No.
They're just giving those who had signed up for the pilot.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait to get it. I really want to get my needs.
It is say if you have needs, right, and you want to do business at bank, you don't need no other ID. Just walking with the needs.
Yes, that's my recollection.
And so, what about for voting and things like those? Do we still need the voting card?
I think I vaguely recall at the beginning they said you would still need it. Yes, that's my recollection. At least for the initial period, I think that's my record. I can check for you, but that's my...
Because your voter ID is a very specific thing. Remember, what the NIDS is essentially replacing is your TRN, but your voter ID you can have a voter ID and not have a TRN.
And I go in the bank there, you have to send it. So paper, you don't need this sign this whole paper anymore.
Precisely.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Richard, good evening.
Yes, Master Ricardo, good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Siobhan.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. I listened to the Prime Minister's speech, and there's one thing I really take out of it, mainly. Many things he said, which I agree with, but there's one thing I mainly take out of it. He said the gangs, he said the crimes are coming through with the gangs. We had 380 gangs. They reduced to 170. He said if we get rid of the gangs, we'll get rid of the crimes. And I agree because the gangs are coming down and you say the crime are coming down. So I know the gangs will continue to come down. And if the gangs come down, the crime come down, it will be a plus for the country. Because you know what happened now? So many people want to come back to Jamaica right now, like returning residents. So many people want to come to Jamaica to invest. Better about tourism. A lot more people want to come here. So I think that's the main thing I take out of it. The gangs are coming down.
Yeah.
And they dismantling the gangs.
Yeah.
And that's a plus.
That's a simple equation.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, no.
That's a simple equation.
Yeah, we agree with you. And the JCF must be commended over and over and over again for the sterling work they're doing on that front. Absolutely.
So as I said, when the Prime Minister said meet the judge or your maker, I'm sorry, I'm right with him behind.
Right.
I'm sorry if the civil society or the human rights advocates have a problem with that, but I'm sorry, I'm with him when he said meet the judge or meet your maker.
Which I understood to be surrender and do not use force against the security forces. I saw nothing wrong with it, as I've said before.
I hear you guys talking about the American election, but I was definitely looking for Trump to election. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I recall you said that. Yes.
Hmm?
Yeah, man, I recall you saying that.
Yeah, man. I'm still not one of the Trump fan anymore because Trump too lie. That me can't take with Trump.
Yeah.
I'm not one of the supporters anymore, but I am one of the first who was supporting Trump 100% over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think I agree with Trump with?
Yeah.
To build a wall.
Okay.
Because see, like how we have Cubans coming into Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
they come here and they come here illegally. They can do the wrongs and get away with it because nobody don't know their name, nobody don't know that, and they vote them red-handed, you know. When those people go across to America and go there illegally and they commit the crimes, I agree with him, throw them out. If one of my brother or my sister over there illegally and doing things is wrong, get them out of the country. You have a right to do what you want to do. I was definitely looking for him to win election. But in terms of this Jamaica election, I don't see the PMP stand much chance in it. To take a hold of the seat, no, it's not possible. You understand me say? I'm not even looking at them to get 2 more seats as well. You know, when I think that the PMP did with, people bitter against that right now, when they bring Bev Carter on stage, and introduce and for Dr. Dayton Camp to say that they're going to get more votes from the PMP, from Vice Cartel.
And that,
more than what the
but
JLP
you
is
see,
going to get from
Richie.
He's probably right.
That's the thing.
He's probably right.
Yes, Richie. And that's what I try to say to people, you know. Look, I wish that was not the world we lived in. I wish the majority of my fellow citizens thought the way I did, felt like decency was important, felt like certain values must be enforced. I just don't know anymore. I have grave doubts about that, Richie. So Siobhan, what Siobhan is saying, Dayton Campbell is probably, I don't know. We're going to find out. But I am praying he's wrong, but I would not be surprised if he is right. I wouldn't.
I can't see it right. I'm going to tell you something. You see the Parish Council election?
Mm-hmm.
Anjo was there campaigning, believe that the people would be focusing on what he's campaigning about.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not believe. He spent only 16 days campaigning.
Uh-huh.
when Margot and the PMP was out there campaigning for 4 years.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So he did that, but he realized that the mistake they make.
But hold on. So here's my question. So, and again, I'm asking the questions. I don't have the answers. And we're going to get the answers soon. But here's the question I asked myself. Is there a point at which the situation cannot be salvaged? Or do you think right up to the election day, it still can turn around?
What can turn around?
The sentiment.
The sentiment, the public sentiment that says people fed up and frustrated and...
Listen, man. I don't see what Mark Rowley is going to get on committee voters.
Okay.
Number one. He's not doing... up till now, almost every time I talk...
But hold on, Richie, as Siobhan just said, that is assuming that when if people go into the ballot box and vote for the People's National Party, it is a vote for Mark Golding. If it is a vote against the JLP, Mark Golding benefits from that. No?
But what is it? Get to my point. What is it that they're going to vote against Andrew Forrest? That's the question I asked.
Because rightly or wrongly, they blame him for a lot of the frustrations they face in their everyday
For example,
life.
look at this comment on YouTube from PP.
Listen, I mean, listen to me. You see the politics? The PMP is out there paying all the politics.
Yes.
Very well.
Yeah, we are agreeing with you. We are agreeing with you. But we are saying to you, and we're saying to you, we think that kind of thing is starting to penetrate.
No, but look here. I see this from PP. Ricardo, you're such a hypocrite. Food prices are up all over the world. Sit in Jamaica every day. When last did you take a trip to Europe and other Caribbean countries? When last did any average Jamaican take a trip to Europe and any other Caribbean countries? Do you think every average Jamaican cares what the food prices in China, what the food prices in Nicaragua? They only care about what the food prices here. And they only care what their government can do about those food prices, not what the US can do about it.
For their sake.
Who is the cause of the problem of the food prices? Is it the government?
But what are people supposed? Do you think that's what people think though? That it's not the government's fault, so we're fine? No, that's not how people view things.
I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. A lot of these laborites are making a grave mistake. Are the same thing Biden and Kamala did I tell the American people? Say, are the Russia war and a COVID. Anyway, 8 o'clock. Dana Davy, thank you. Bugs, big up yourself. And our listeners, thank you so much. Good evening.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is
8 o'clock.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have